My nephew is allergic to oranges. Even though it's a mild allergy, there's still a risk of anaphylactic shock. I didn't want our family to suffer the tragedy of outliving a younger generation, so I tried to stop my brother and sister-in-law from giving him oranges. They thought I was meddling in their business. They've been smearing my reputation everywhere. They've made me the neighborhood pariah. They fed him a large amount of oranges just to prove a point to me. He went into shock that night and couldn't be revived. Now they're blaming me, as if my warnings cursed him to die. My sister-in-law went mad and stabbed me with a knife. My brother took all my savings and even arranged a ghost marriage for me. When I opened my eyes again, I was back before everything had begun. As the spring festival approaches, citrus fruits hit the market. My sister-in-law's mom brought over a big basket of sugar oranges. My 5-year-old nephew, who has a sweet tooth, ate 6 of them right after his grandma delivered them and immediately showed symptoms. My sister-in-law just thought her son was tired from playing, but I felt something was off. I insisted on taking my nephew to the hospital. The doctor diagnosed a mild orange allergy and advised avoiding such allergens in the future. I nodded and told my sister-in-law what happened, but she thought I had ill intentions and was cursing her son to die. I was furious, but he's still my own nephew. I couldn't just stand by and watch him suffer, so I kept pushing. Never imagined it'd land me in this arranged ghost marriage mess. 1. The old saying's right, meddling in others' fate cuts your life short. It's true. Back in my 20s, I worked my fingers to the bone for years, and my brother took every last penny. I saw the little guy reach for an orange and hold it up for me to peel. I didn't dare, thanks to his parents' influence. He's got no respect for me. The neighborhood gossips even asked him, "How does your aunt treat you?" My nephew said, "Auntie is so mean, she won't feed me, and she even took grandma's money and mom's gold." They say children never lie. I think kids are the best liars. They don't even bat an eye. At most, they won't hide it, but a child's innocence often makes adults overlook the truth. I saw my nephew running toward me, calling out in a sweet, childish voice, "Auntie, peel the orange for me." I put away my phone, pretended not to hear him on purpose, got up from the couch, and called out, "Mom, let me help you with the cooking." I walked into the kitchen and ignored my little nephew. He ran to his mother to tattle on me, sobbing with his little hands wiping his eyes while still clutching a sugar orange. "Wah, Mommy, Auntie ignored me and won't peel the orange for me." My sister-in-law is no child. In the past, to keep the peace at home, I gave my nephew whatever he wanted. Almost all the toys in the house were bought by me, not to mention peeling oranges. Even if he wet his pants at his age, if he came to me, I would help him change. Today, I didn't peel the orange for him, so he got upset and complained to his mom. My sister-in-law is quite petty. The moment she heard I'd ignored her son, she got upset. She first comforted the boy, peeled an orange for him, and even meticulously removed every bit of the white pith before feeding it to him. After the boy finished eating, he stormed out to find me. I was helping my mom chop meat and said to her, "Mom, I don't think it's right for me to keep living at home like this, with only 3 bedrooms, and Tyler getting older. He needs his own room. I'm thinking of moving out." My sister-in-law burst in angrily, having overheard my plans to move out, instantly forgot about the orange incident with my son. The house is only so big. She'd long wanted her sister-in-law to move out, but their father-in-law objected. Since she brought it up herself, my sister-in-law came over smiling and said, "I'll help too." I chuckled, glancing at my sister-in-law while chopping meat, and called out to her. My sister-in-law couldn't hold back her curiosity and blurted out, "What's up? Thinking about moving out?" While stir-frying, my mom said, "Tyler's still young, renting a place costs money. We'd be better off spending that on clothes for him." Before I could get a word in, my sister-in-law cut in impatiently, "Mom, Tyler's not a kid anymore. He can't keep relying on his aunt to buy his clothes. If Maya doesn't want to live at home, just let her move out. Besides, rent is cheap these days, only $500 or $600 a month. Maya makes $6,000 or $7,000. It's not like she can't make ends meet. I make $600, $900 a month, and I have to hand over $5,000 for household expenses. My mom gives all of it to my sister-in-law as a subsidy. My sister-in-law knows exactly what she's doing. She wants to have her cake and eat it too. She won't let me live at home, yet she still takes my money, as if things work that way in this world. She's been trying to kick me out for ages. I know if I bring it up and she hears, she'll convince my parents without me having to say another word, morning, noon, and night. I couldn't help but laugh seeing my sister-in-law constantly trailing after my mom, too. That evening, my nephew broke out in a rash. He kept complaining about how itchy he was. My brother was out cold, snoring like a log. When my sister-in-law realized her son was unwell, she frantically rallied the whole household and even called her own mother for help. My nephew's grandmother has a folk remedy. She mixes incense ash with water, stands 3 chopsticks upright in it, mutters some incantations, and then gives the water to the sick person to drink. I didn't believe in such things before, but I still respected the old superstitions and spiritual practices. Now that I've been reborn, I'm actually quite curious, does it really work? I know the safest approach right now would be to take him to the hospital instead of having him drink this incense-ash water, but I can't say anything. If anything goes wrong with my nephew, I'll be blamed for it for the rest of my life. I've wised up in this lifetime, but I underestimated how shameless my sister-in-law and brother could be. My father said in a low voice, "Get the child to the hospital now. My family is just ordinary. My mom stays home to look after the kids and has no pension, while my dad gets about 2,000 yuan a month. My brother is lazy and can't handle physical labor, plus he's inconsistent with work, always on and off. His payments usually come quarterly or yearly. It's a little over 5,000 a month. It's not much, but it's still money, but they're reluctant to spend it on hospital bills." So they turned to me. My brother grabbed my arm and said urgently, "Maya, give me your card. Tyler needs to see a doctor, and hospital visits cost money. As his aunt, you should take care of your nephew." I can't help but laugh. I give them 5,000 a month, and they pocket it all. Now they have the nerve to ask me for money when their son is sick. I barely have any money in my account, just a few $100. I turned to my mom and said, Tyler is sick. Mom, I send you money every month. Surely you haven't spent it all, right? Hurry up and get it out. We need to take him to the hospital." Thankfully, my mom isn't so heartless as to treat me like an enemy. It's just a bit of son preference, and honestly, it's pretty despicable otherwise. How would my brother have dared to arrange a ghost marriage back then if they hadn't agreed to it? We don't have any tradition here that says a woman can't have a grave if she never marries. My mom glanced awkwardly at my sister-in-law. My sister-in-law shrieked, "What's the big deal about you chipping in as his aunt? You know how hard it is to get money from your brother. Your nephew is in this state, and you're still counting pennies." I was speechless, almost letting out a cold laugh. "Sis, I make 6,900 a month. I give mom 5,000. I cover utilities. I buy Tyler clothes at least once a month. None of the outfits I get him cost less than 500. I'm practically broke by the end of every month. How am I supposed to pay medical bills right now?" I gave the money to mom, telling her to take a few thousand for medical expenses. "What's wrong with that? Isn't it still me paying for Tyler?" My sister-in-law wanted to argue back but didn't know what to say. "You can't tell me in front of the whole family that mom gave me all the money you turned in." His face turned blue and purple alternately. Dad saw his eldest grandson scratching frantically, breaking the skin, and in anger kicked my brother, shouting, "Still talking about money, money, money. Take Tyler to the hospital right now." Thanks to Dad's reminder, my brother and sister-in-law hurriedly hailed a taxi and took my nephew to the hospital. "The results are in," I nodded. "Mild allergic reaction, like father, like son, or birds of a feather flock together." My brother and his wife are a match made in heaven. When their kid broke out in hives, they rushed to the doctor. I told them to listen up. It's just a mild allergy, a few bites won't kill anyone. They just wouldn't accept reality. My nephew recovered. We trained him to eat oranges. Allergies happen due to lack of antibodies. Consistent exposure can build tolerance. It can handle it. My nephew's grandmother said the same thing. They also tried a bunch of folk remedies for the allergy. They give my nephew a bit of orange every day. Everyone's immune response is different. Some might actually build up a tolerance, but for others, it could end up being a matter of life and death. My sister-in-law kept complaining about being broke and asked me to buy some oranges for my nephew. I didn't dare to agree. I've already found a place and plan to move out in the next couple of days after getting things sorted. I opened WeChat, showed her the payment screen, and said, "The rent requires 3 months deposit plus 1 month's rent up front. I don't have enough in my WeChat wallet." Worried she wouldn't believe me, I opened up Alipay as well, showed her the balance. It was 02. My sister-in-law stared at my phone for a moment, then looked up at me frowning. "What about Huawei?" I sneered inwardly. How shameless. Opened it. A credit limit of 4,000, not a penny left. My mom gave all her money to my sister-in-law, so she can't spare a cent of what I gave her. For this rental, I had to borrow first and pay back later, but it's just as well. Next month when I get paid, I'll have an excuse, and of course, I won't be giving her anything the month after that either. I'll have an excuse ready by then. My sister-in-law went through every app where I could possibly hide money, confirmed there was none left. She was clearly annoyed, but still put on a smile. "Maya, it's not that I want them, it's for your nephew. A crate of oranges doesn't cost much, just 30 or 50 bucks. You know I'm home taking care of Tyler with no income of my own. Your brother's paycheck is barely enough, and I can't get my hands on it. Mom's broke, and Dad's pension only covers our basic expenses. You adore Tyler, don't you? Just get him a few to try. Try them. Sure. Don't eat what I bought. What if it kills you and you go crazy and stab me?" I said with a strained smile. "Sis, I really don't have any money left. I've shown you everything. Do you think I'm lying? I've borrowed all I can. How am I supposed to buy it? I truly had no money. My sister-in-law was probably cursing me in her head, but she didn't dare say it outright. She forced a bitter smile and said, "Oh well, guess Tyler just wasn't meant to have it. Can't even afford a decent house." I just chuckled to myself and went to pack my clothes from the bedroom closet. Should be able to move in by the day after tomorrow, but this place is just disgusting. I can't stand it here anymore. I'm planning to leave tonight. I had my bags packed and was about to leave. I went to the living room to get a glass of water, but my mom grabbed me, dragged me into the room without a word, and hit my arm hard. It hurt so much I gasped. She hissed under her breath, "What's wrong with you? You have a problem with buying some oranges for your nephew. You're getting more and more unreasonable." I was completely baffled and took a step back, avoiding my mother's touch. "What nonsense have you heard now? Your sister-in-law asked you to buy some oranges for your nephew, and you kept making excuses. He's your own nephew, not some stranger. Tyler is ween." She forgot the word but continued defiantly, "Let him eat more so he won't have problems later. What's the big deal? You're his aunt. Can't you be more generous?" So my sister-in-law actually tattled to my mom over this ridiculous nonsense. Seems like she didn't even tell the whole story accurately. "You're exaggerating, aren't you?" I showed my mom all my apps, especially the 4K debt on Huawei. I pointed at the screen and held it up for her to see. Even if I were reborn, I couldn't stay calm about this. My sister-in-law did something disgusting, and naturally, I'm disgusted too. I couldn't hide the anger in my words. "I gave all my money to you. When I rented a place, I had to use Huawei for everything. When I asked you for money, you said it was all spent. I have no idea where." "Fine, I'll handle it myself. I'm this broke, without a penny to my name. How am I supposed to buy anything for Tyler? If you won't give me the money, forget a basket of oranges. I could buy you a whole roomful." When the 5,000 yuan was mentioned, my mom fell silent. She still didn't dare tell her daughter that she'd given all the money to her daughter-in-law. She had to give it. Megan kept threatening to take her grandson to her parents' house. That boy is her whole world. She can't sleep if she doesn't see him for a day. Knowing her daughter really had no money left, she didn't say anything more. "I'm disappointed in my mom too." With a cold expression, I said, "I'm leaving soon, by the way. I won't be paying next month." My mom immediately raised her voice. "Why aren't you paying? Think you're all grown up now, after all I've done raising you, and you want to be an ungrateful brat?" I rolled my eyes in disbelief, take a deep breath, and say, "I owe 4,000 in rent, and I have to pay it back with next month's paycheck. You raised my brother all these years, paid for his wedding, helped him start a family. You even sold our old family property back home just to buy this apartment outright for him. Why doesn't he have to contribute? And you've poured everything into him." My mother said matter-of-factly, "He's the son, he's carried on the family line. That's a huge contribution in itself." I was so angry it made my chest ache. Even though I knew the answer, I couldn't resist asking, "When you're old and my brother can't provide for you or take care of you, what will you do?" Without even thinking, my mom blurted out, "Well, there's still you." With that mindset, I'll be married off to another family someday. Taking care of my mother-in-law, how would I have time to look after you? Who's more important, my mother-in-law or my own mother? Didn't you say it yourself, that when my brother neglects you and my sister-in-law abandons you, I'd have to take care of you? But I have my own mother-in-law to look after. I can't just desert her like how my sister-in-law treats you." My mom was so furious she raised her hand to hit me, but I ran away. I didn't even get to eat dinner. Eating too many mandarin oranges can turn your skin yellowish. My family went through 10 pounds in a single day to help my nephew with his desensitization therapy. I haven't been home in 2 weeks, but I haven't heard about anything happening to him. Is desensitization really going to work? But whether it succeeds or not is none of my business. Heading home for the minor New Year, that nearly scared me to death. I don't even know how many oranges they show off eating in a day. They all eat until their faces turn sallow, giving off this terrifying vibe like their livers are having problems. I looked at my mom's fingernails, they're all stained yellow, and her nail crevices are full of orange juice. They're really sick, aren't they? I get that my parents are older and don't know better, but my brother and sister-in-law are only 5 years older than me, and they're on their phones all day long. I just can't understand how someone could be that clueless. New Year's Eve dinner, I really need to help out, otherwise, the nagging won't stop from the moment I walk in until I leave. Honestly, I don't feel like just sitting around on my phone either. I'd be fine with it at my rental place, but at home, no way. My sister-in-law might come over to chat, and talking to her makes me want to scream. I helped my mom prep the vegetables, and she asked me to stir-fry them. I actually knew how to cook. but I deliberately oversalted and drowned everything in oil, making it as unpalatable as possible. My mom took one bite, whipped up 2 more dishes in a row, then shooed me aside to chop vegetables instead, all while muttering under her breath, 5, a few days away from home and you've forgotten how to cook, think you're some kind of princess now. I let out a sarcastic chuckle, the moment my mom heard that mocking tone. She completely lost it. My sister-in-law must have upset her. She didn't dare vent at her directly because of my nephew, and she didn't want to put my brother in an awkward position. The moment I got home, she finally had someone to take it out on. She flung the spatula into the wok and started yelling right in my face. What? You think you're all grown up now, forgotten where you came from? I went through hell to bring you into this world, and I might as well have given birth to a piece of char siu. None of you ever give me a moment's peace. I just laughed and raised my voice on purpose so my brother and sister-in-law in the living room could hear. Mom, did my brother upset you, or are you short on money? I'm broke myself, but since you're too polite to ask him, we grew up together, so I have no problem demanding it from him. My sister-in-law can't stand the idea of anyone taking money out of her pocket. Her expression instantly darkened while playing with her son outside. She shot up and stormed into the kitchen. What money, Mom? What did Kevin do to upset you now? Haven't we been doing enough for you at home? We don't have any extra money. If you think we're spending too much, I'll take Tyler back to my parents. My mom dotes on her only grandson like crazy. The conversation was starting to sound like a veiled threat. My brother is henpecked, so my mother doesn't have much say in things. For the sake of her grandson, she forced a smile and said, "Don't listen to Maya's nonsense. I never said anything bad about you. And I don't want your money. The most important thing is that you and Kevin have a happy life together." Only then did my sister-in-law's expression soften. Look, I'm not criticizing your mom, but we could have just taken out a loan for this house. You and Dad could have stayed in the old place, while Kevin and I lived here. None of these issues would have even come up. My mom's face fell. What was this supposed to mean? We paid for their house in full, and now they're acting like we're in the way. Just then, my nephew's laughter echoed from outside. I watched my mom force a strained smile. She really has a talent for playing the long-suffering saint. My mother treated me that way, getting grief from my daughter-in-law here. Of course I wouldn't speak up for her. If you ask me, she had it coming. The mortgage is putting a lot of pressure on you, and we can't come up with that much money either. We had to sell the rural homestead, even though we don't have much savings now. At least we're not in debt, way better off than the neighbors next door. They're just a couple living there, but us, 6 or 7 people crammed into a 100-square-meter place. It's packed to the brim. My sister-in-law complained to my mom, not hiding her frustration at all. Even with me right there, my mom could only smile and say, there are perks to a couple living alone, and there are perks to a whole family living together. They still have to cook when they get home. But you just need to take good care of Tyler. You don't even have to do the housework. Mom, isn't Maya renting a place outside? Why don't you and Dad move in with her? I could literally see Mom's face turn green with anger. I wanted to laugh but didn't dare. My tiny room couldn't possibly fit 2 people, let alone Dad too. It's clear my sister-in-law is trying to kick us all out. Anyway, I'm not coming back. It's up to my parents to see if they can keep this perfect daughter-in-law. Who's here to carry on the family line? In check, she has her own room, and besides, Tyler needs looking after. You can't handle it all by yourself. Your father and I aren't getting any younger, and with a son around, we can't exactly be asked to move out and rent a place. People would laugh at us if they found out. My sister-in-law is afraid of my dad. Just mentioning him makes her behave. A moment ago she was so serious, but now she smiled and said, "You're right, Mom. I was just joking earlier. I'll go check on Tyler." My mom nodded. I stopped picking vegetables, crossed my arms, and asked, "Can we really count on my sister-in-law in the future?" My mother's face tightened, her teeth grinding with anger. "It's all for the grandson," she muttered. "If we can't rely on her, there's still your brother." I laughed. Well, you can just wait and see then. After saying that, I stopped helping in the kitchen. I want to go hang out in my room, but when I opened the door, it was a complete mess inside. There wasn't even space to sleep on the bed. It's the middle of the New Year celebrations, and there's not even a place to rest when I come over in the evening. Given how much my sister-in-law dotes on my nephew, she wouldn't let him sleep alone until he's 12 or 13. I never expected they'd be so quick to take over my room. I'll go to my parents' room. My dad is in the living room playing with his grandson. I lay in bed with the door locked, scrolling through my phone alone. I knew my mom must be furious. She was preparing the New Year's Eve dinner all by herself. I didn't help, and neither did my sister-in-law. I used to feel for her and wanted to share the burden. 6. Ever since my nephew was born, her attitude toward me, well, let's just say it wasn't great before. But now it's downright grating. She's been funneling my money to my brother. The moment my mom lays eyes on her precious grandson, all her anger just melts away. After preparing the New Year's Eve dinner, the whole family gathered around the table to eat. My sister-in-law peeled 2 more mandarin oranges for my nephew, but he turned his head away, refusing to eat. His mom insisted he have them anyway. She coaxed and practically forced them into his mouth, promising to buy him a remote-controlled car. Only then did the nephew finally eat the orange. After finishing, I noticed him scratching his arm and then reaching to scratch his back. His mother skillfully helped him scratch the itch. Clearly, this wasn't the first time. This family is something else. They were diagnosed with an orange allergy at the hospital, yet they still feed them oranges, even though it's a minor festival. It's customary to give a small red envelope as a token gesture. In previous years, I gave my nephew 100 for the minor festival and 1,000 for the Lunar New Year. My salary hasn't been paid yet, so I'm broke. It was time for the red envelope tradition. My sister-in-law nudged her son to come ask me for money. I beat him to it and asked my brother first, calling out sweetly, "Brother, I want a red envelope too. You haven't given me one in years." I clung to his arm, coaxing him playfully. After all, I'm his sister. It's not like we'd argue during the holidays. He probably had some cash on him, and the mood was just right. He couldn't resist my pleading and reluctantly pulled out a 100 yuan bill for me. My sister-in-law was absolutely livid. She can take my money, but I'm not allowed to touch a single cent of hers, not even my brother's. When my nephew asked for a red envelope, I just passed along the money my brother had given me. My sister-in-law couldn't hold back. Your brother gave you 100. And you're just giving that same 100 to Tyler. I know what my sister-in-law is hinting at. I should chip in an extra 100. No matter what, I can't let her end up shortchanged. But the problem is, I'm broke right now. Even if I had the money, I wouldn't give it to them. The whole family's a bunch of ingrates. I'm not letting my money go to waste on them. Sis, it's not even payday yet. You know I'm strapped for cash. I still owe 4,000 on my Huawei bill. Dear sister-in-law, are you loaded? How about lending me some so I can pay it off? The moment money came up, she looked like a ghost was chasing her. Her expression changed instantly. She took the 100 and didn't dare ask me for more, afraid I'd turn around and borrow from her. I left right after dinner. My dad tried to get me to stay, so I asked him, where would I sleep? My mom said, the living room can fit 1 person, you can sleep there tonight. I ignored them and went back to my tiny apartment. I didn't go home for the spring festival, so naturally, I didn't give my nephew any New Year's money. My sister-in-law acted like she'd lost $1,000. That very night, she called me. She had my nephew wish me a happy new year and say some blessings, beating around the bush. I knew she was trying to get money from me. As long as she didn't bring it up directly, I wouldn't address it either. After half an hour of talking, my sister-in-law got impatient, took the phone from my nephew, and spoke to me. Hey, sis, Tyler misses you. When are you coming back? Why didn't you come home for the new year? Your brother and I miss you too. I couldn't help but laugh while lying in my rented apartment. Miss me? More like miss the money in my pocket. Does it really matter where I spend it? I have to go back to work in a few days anyway, so I probably won't have time to come home. Let's talk another time, sis. I've got to go. Should have known better than to go back even for minor New Year. Away from the shelter of home, there's no storm out here anyway. Loneliness and mockery are still better than going back to face everyone's nagging one by one. 7. Wait, my sister-in-law seemed to realize her tone was too harsh. She softened her voice and said with a smile, it's New Year's today. You should give Tyler a red envelope for good luck. Your parents and your brother already gave theirs, sis. It's not even next month yet. I don't even have money for minor New Year. You think I'll have any for spring festival? You think living expenses outside are free? You say you're broke. I don't buy it. Sis, I bought a whole case of instant noodles and I'm living off them. Want me to video call you to prove it? She actually video called me, but I really did have the noodles. I quickly grabbed a pack, crushed it, and tore it open during those few seconds before answering. Panned the camera around a bit. Just a bed, a wardrobe, and a desk. Simple and nothing else. My sister-in-law curled her lip in disapproval, knowing she wouldn't get any money tonight and decided to wait until payday. I hung up, and my takeout arrived right then. The whole family is counting on my paycheck. On the 15th, my mom was the first to call and ask for money. Didn't I tell you last month? I have debts to pay, so I can't give you anything this month. I owe 4,000, with 2,900 left to pay. I sneered. Are you trying to starve me to death? My mom paused on the other end, sounding almost generous as she said, just keep 400 for yourself and give me 500. No way, not this month. I'm hanging up. The next time my mom called, I blocked her number. My brother kept lecturing me about filial piety. saying how hard our parents worked to raise me. I shot back by asking if he'd ever given them a single penny all these years. That really set him off, hung up on him and blocked him right after. Then came my sister-in-law. Not only was she hung up on the $5,000 I owed her, but she also brought up the $1,000 I didn't give my nephew for Chinese New Year, so according to her, I owe her $6,000 in total. I answered the call, and my sister-in-law got straight to the point without beating around the bush. You got paid today, right? You still haven't given Tyler his New Year's money. Sorry, sis. I used the money to pay off my Huawei debt. Moving into a new place, I had to buy some essentials. I've only got about $400 left, and I still need to eat this month. To throw them off, I deliberately played an audio clip where a woman's voice shouted, "We're going to be late. Hurry up and clock in." I quickly said to my sister-in-law, "Sis, I'm about to be late for work. If I don't clock in, I'll lose my attendance bonus. I've got to go," said my piece and blocked her right after. No other reason. Just took the call to piss off my sister-in-law. The atmosphere at home is really gloomy right now. Ever since she had the baby, she hasn't been the same. She goes to the spa every month and spends all my money on facials. Even if there's anything left, it's just a few $100. She knows the money comes in every month, so she doesn't worry. She always goes for the priciest treatments. She's a VIP at that place. Without my $5,000, she can't get it done. When she's unhappy, the whole family suffers. I blocked their numbers, so they couldn't reach me or find my rented place. They asked around, showed up at my workplace, and when they couldn't figure out which floor I was on, they started shouting through a megaphone outside. Someone filmed it and posted it in the group chat. Although this building houses different companies, some employees have hopped between them and kept in touch with former colleagues. Everyone loves a bit of gossip, and my coworker saw it in the group chat and nudged me. Are they calling for you?" I was taken aback, picked up my phone, and opened the group chat. Two familiar faces appeared on the screen, shouting through the voice message, "Come out, you ungrateful daughter. Blocking your own parents on WeChat, abandoning your family, after all we've done for you." Just then, our supervisor came over and asked, "Is that you?" Not sure if there are other Mayas in this building. I'll phrase it as a question. If it's her, I'll go down and handle it. If not, it's none of their business. Turned off the phone screen and said, "It's my mom." Colleagues around all turned to look. The supervisor frowned and said, "I don't care about your personal matters, but I expect it not to affect the company's image. Sorry, I'll take care of it. You've got half an hour." 8, thanks. When I went downstairs, the security guard had already stopped my brother from using the megaphone. The moment I showed up, my mom came over with a stern face. "Think you're all grown up now, huh? Blocked the whole family. Why haven't you sent money this month again? I've been moving these past 2 months. Everything costs money, plus transportation expenses. Where am I supposed to get extra cash for you? If I didn't block you, you'd be hounding me for money every single day. Should I go rob a bank?" My brother chimed in, "You used to manage just fine before. Why can't you now? You paid 3 months rent up front. It's not like you pay every month. How can you possibly be broke?" I shot him a look. "Oh, it's easy for you to say. Bro, do you think living alone is free? Mom's the one asking for money. What are you even doing here?" My brother choked up, probably out of guilt, but quickly straightened his back and declared, "I'm here to get money for Mom." I sneered, "Oh really? And whose pocket did that money actually end up in?" No one told me, but I already knew. Both my brother and my mom fell silent for a moment. My brother is henpecked by his wife, but acts all macho around me and Mom, hitting a nerve. He raised his voice to cover his guilt. "What nonsense are you spouting? After all Mom and Dad have done raising you, what's wrong with giving them some filial support? How dare you act entitled? How am I not justified? Where's my money? We agreed I'd give $5,000. Mom was supposed to save $2,000 for me, and the remaining $3,000 was for you and Dad. When I asked Mom for the money last time, why couldn't she produce it? Kevin, don't you play the victim after taking advantage? My brother is just as disgusting as his wife. My mom realized I knew the truth. She told my brother to turn off the speaker and sighed, "I know this isn't fair to you, but Tyler is the family's pride and joy. Your sister-in-law has no income while taking care of him at home. I have to help them out financially. Help them out." Mom, I never complained before, but have you forgotten how expensive moving is? Between relocation costs and paying off my debts, what's left? You brought my brother to make a scene at my office. My supervisor noticed. If this escalates to upper management, I'll get fired. In this job market, most jobs pay peanuts. It took me years to earn the salary. If I lose my job, you'll get nothing from me ever again. 9. My brother only cared about pushing Mom to squeeze money out of me. He never considered how serious this could get. If I were fired, they'd truly lose their financial support. I locked eyes with my mother. Even my mom felt guilty. Just then, my brother's phone rang. He answered. It was my sister-in-law. I could mostly hear their conversation. She was saying that if she didn't get the money today, she'd take their son back to her parents' house and end the marriage. Suddenly, something occurred to me. They're both the type to shift blame. If I don't give them the money and it leads to my brother and his wife divorcing, I'll still end up shouldering the blame. Looks like I'll have to quit this job. But I gave a faint smile, then quickly pressed my lips together. My brother panicked the moment he heard his wife was going back to her parents' house. My mom panicked the moment she heard my sister-in-law was taking my nephew away. Maya, how much do you have left? Transfer it to mom. If that's not possible, at least come home for lunch every day. You'd save a fair amount that way. My brother chimed in. What does an unmarried girl like you even need money for? Nothing is more important than Tyler. As his aunt, you should show some care and concern for your nephew. They demanded money with such shameless entitlement. I'm not going to agree to this. I don't have the money, Maya. If that doesn't work, can you cash out? You paid off Huabei last month, right? Just transfer me the 4,000 from Huabei. You can pay it back next month. Also, what's your Douyin monthly credit limit? Seriously, you're a grown man with no money. Why are you asking me for cash? That money I had was for mom and dad. What's it got to do with you? Huabei, Jibei, monthly payments. What? Are you going to cover my bills next month? My brother fell silent. What could he even say? He'd rather have his head twisted off than help me pay it back. My mom was so terrified that my sister-in-law would take my nephew away that she threw herself on the floor, demanding money from me. She didn't care if I'd get in trouble with my boss. She just wanted to solve her immediate problem. Half an hour later, I still hadn't gone back upstairs. Someone secretly recorded a video and shared it in the group chat. Our boss was furious after seeing it. The supervisor also called me, told me to hurry back and give an explanation. I ignored them and went back to the office. My brother did want to follow and ask me for money, but there's access control on the first floor. There's also security, so he couldn't even get near the elevator, and even if he got in, he wouldn't know which floor I was on. I explained it to my supervisor. She was at a loss for words, but couldn't really say anything. My brother kept bringing my mom to make a scene day after day, even tried to corner me. I ran away. My sister-in-law probably reached her breaking point, so my brother had my mom sit on the ground and cry during rush hour when everyone was getting off work. It's not just happening in real life. It's blown up online too. The company, afraid of damaging their image, immediately moved to terminate my employment contract, even though they knew I was also a victim. Nobody wants to mess with money, so I ended up getting the severance package. My salary only went up to $6,900 in the second half of last year. Even though the company had to let me go under pressure, the management was decent about it. They agreed to keep it quiet that I received the severance. After getting laid off, I went straight home fuming. Things at home turned into a complete mess. The moment my mom saw me, all she could talk about was money. Even my little nephew, who doesn't even understand what money is, was shouting, "Auntie is a bad person, she won't give grandma any money." The closest thing to me was the tea set on the table, so I smashed it. My nephew burst into terrified tears, and just as my sister-in-law was about to scold me, I yelled first, "Enough, you went to my workplace and made a scene. Are you trying to push me over the edge? Now I've been fired. I have no money. Are you happy? The whole building knows who I am. I can't even find a job now. Is this what you wanted?" My mom was stunned. My dad frowned and asked, "What's going on?" Turns out my dad had no idea what was happening. I was absolutely furious, went to the kitchen and grabbed a knife, which terrified everyone in the house. They avoided me like the plague. My brother, being the coward he is, immediately dragged my sister-in-law and nephew into their room, leaving my parents to deal with the situation alone. My mom's legs were trembling as she stared nervously at the knife in my hand, saying, "My knives aren't toys, put it down right now." My eyes were bloodshot. "Why did you have to cause a scene at my office? Do you have any idea how many years I struggled to earn the salary? I told you, it would affect me. It would affect me. Why did you still go through with it? Now I'm fired. Are you happy?" My dad came over. He probably knew I wouldn't actually use the knife, so he snatched it from my hand and asked my mom in a low, serious voice, "Did you get Maya fired?" My mom's afraid of my dad too. She hadn't expected it to be this serious. Megan was asking for money. Where was she supposed to get it? She had no choice but to ask her daughter. My son also said it wouldn't affect Maya. My mother has no basic judgment. When it comes to my brother or his son, their words are like absolute commands. The family has expenses, and when money falls short, they can only turn to their daughter. "Go online and see for yourselves. Because of your drama, the internet is full of people condemning me." Mom, are you really going to push me to the brink for your son's sake? If I'm gone, and my brother and his wife won't take care of you, who do you think will be there for you then? The topic hasn't gained much traction online. It's only visible locally. It'll probably be gone in a couple of days. But that was enough to scare my mom. My dad was angry too, but he somewhat understood. I owed last month's rent and couldn't contribute to household expenses this month. Gave my mom a stern talking to. My mom admitted she was wrong too. He went to knock on my brother's door, wanting him to apologize to me. My brother, afraid I was still holding the knife, quickly backed down through the door. All right, I was in the wrong here. Okay. I clearly heard a sharp slap from behind the door, probably my sister-in-law hitting my brother. They were murmuring something inside, and suddenly my brother raised his voice. It's a legitimate company. If they fire you, they should give you compensation. After working there for 3 or 4 years, you should get at least 100,000. The tone was so assertive, I knew that if I said yes, they would try every way to take the money from me. I was going crazy outside. How dare you say that? Kevin, if it weren't for you bringing mom to the company to make a scene, I would have gotten the standard severance package, N+1. Now the company says I seriously damaged their image. I even have to pay them a penalty. I don't care. Mom, I've saved up around $70,000 with you over the years, haven't I? My mom fell silent. My brother and sister-in-law went quiet too. My dad also stopped speaking. Why is everyone so quiet? My mom, trying to change the subject out of awkwardness. Maya. Are you hungry? Don't worry about losing your job. You can always find another one tomorrow. $70,000. I've cleaned up your room. Why don't you just move back home? Where's the money? You said you were saving it for me, so where is it? My mom instinctively glanced at my dad. My dad's face turned ashen. The room fell silent. My brother's door swung open. He was probably shoved out by my sister-in-law. One moment he was trembling, but the second he saw I wasn't holding a knife, he straightened up and started lecturing me. Money, is that all you ever think about? Do you even care about our parents? Kevin, what do you mean by this? You got me fired, and now that I need money, are you just going to leave me high and dry? We don't have any money, my brother snapped, running his hands through his hair in frustration, then shifting the blame to me. If you ask me, you're just useless. Everyone else knows how to suck up to the boss and get ahead. Look at you. One small mistake and you're out. I thought I already couldn't stand my brother, but he somehow managed to sink even lower. Just hearing his voice now makes me want to strangle him. Mom, I gave you the money. If you've put it in the bank, give me the passbook. If the company decides to sue, I'll need to transfer the funds back. I kept asking them for money until my mom had no choice but to tell me the truth. I've given all the money to your sister-in-law, every last penny. It's all gone. Maya, you'll have to find another job. I had to play the part to the fullest. I burst into tears, sobbing uncontrollably. My dad tried to comfort me. My mom stood there awkwardly. My brother didn't dare say a word, and then my sister-in-law came out, luggage in hand. 10. You're all family. I'm the outsider. I'm taking Tyler with me. You all enjoy your lives. She spoke with such venom. You'd think we were her sworn enemies. My mother couldn't bear to see her grandson leave, and neither could my father. As the situation was getting really awkward, my father spoke up. All right, I've got a few $1,000s saved up. You can use that for now. The moment she heard there was money, my sister-in-law calmed down. I threw out one last remark. Don't expect a single penny from me ever again, and left. When the lease was up, I headed to Beijing, out of sight, out of mind. My brother and sister-in-law are big spenders. My dad gave them his life savings, but they went overboard and blew through 50,000 yuan in just 3 months. My dad argued with them, and my sister-in-law took the kids back to her parents' house. My nephew is allergic to oranges. Even with all that chaos at home, my sister-in-law still refuses to give up. We must identify and address the allergen affecting her son. The day before, he was given 2 of them. When they arrived at his sister-in-law's family home, his grandmother instructed him to gradually increase the amount each day, starting from 4 or 5, then 6, up to 10 per day. After eating them continuously for a week, the nephew eventually had an allergic reaction, went into shock, rushed to the hospital for emergency treatment. The dosage was excessive, and he'd been taking all sorts of questionable folk remedies. His condition kept deteriorating. By the time he was found in the early hours, it was too late. Even the greatest physician couldn't have saved him. Sadly, my nephew met the same fate as in his previous life. My mother is heartbroken over her eldest grandson. Now the eldest grandson is gone, all because of the oranges. We found out he ate at least 3 times more at his grandma's house than he ever did at home. They immediately resented the in-laws, especially my sister-in-law. The old couple was already upset about her spending 50,000 yuan in just a few months, and now their grandson is gone. My mom grabbed my sister-in-law by the hair and started hitting her. My sister-in-law was completely stunned. Did my healthy son really die from eating an orange? That's impossible. My sister-in-law went berserk, accusing her mother of poisoning her son. The boy's grandmother looked as if she'd had the life sucked out of her. The whole family was thrown into complete chaos. My sister-in-law couldn't accept it, neither could my brother. My mother nearly collapsed, and the whole family was in disbelief. No one informed me, and I had no idea what was happening at home. My sister-in-law went berserk, stabbing my brother and even attacking her own mother. My mom got stabbed in the arm and lost her grandchild, though no vital organs were hit. She fell gravely ill and never recovered. In the end, my sister-in-law was diagnosed with a psychotic disorder. She was committed to a psychiatric hospital. My brother was stabbed by him and will most likely never be able to have children. They got divorced. My mother's world came crashing down. A once happy family was torn apart after the loss of my nephew. My father sighs all day long, and his hair turned completely white in just 2 months. Not a single one of them remembered me or reached out. Even if they tried to contact me, they'd probably find out I've already blocked them. 11. No one in the family can accept my nephew's passing, especially my mom. She can't bear to hear anything about oranges now and is so furious at my sister-in-law that she's tried to storm into the psychiatric hospital multiple times, though she was stopped every time. Honestly, my mom plays favorites. Why blame my sister-in-law? Isn't my brother at fault too? So her son just gets to slip away unscathed. But it's not my problem. I'm living freely on my own now. Whatever mess they've created at home, they'll have to face the consequences themselves. Don't expect me to support you in your old age. Then give back every penny you took from me. Stop leeching off your daughter to bankroll your son. Ugh. The end. Story 2. On the day I was born, my dragon aunt secretly stole me away, though born with 10,000 years of cultivation. I pretended ignorance, acting like an innocent young dragon maiden. For centuries, my aunt carved up my heart's blood and used me as bait to lure away beasts while she stole spirit-enhancing pearls for her own daughter. After endless torment, my dragon bones shattered, limbs crippled, becoming the clan's laughingstock, a disfigured dragon. Yet her daughter, raised by the dragon prince's consort, blossomed into an elegant and formidable sorceress. When the East Sea Dragon Palace announced the next guardian princess, my aunt dragged me into the grand hall wailing hysterically about a baby swap decades ago. The crown princess fainted on the spot, throwing the dragon court into chaos. I sneered. What difference does a mistaken cradle make now? Look, that crippled wretch is making a spectacle of herself again. What a disgrace. Clutching the fresh, unhealed wound on my chest, I limped through the dragon palace's rear garden to pay respects to the crown prince's household. Suddenly a pebble came flying. Just as I turned my head, a sharp pain shot through my waist. When my vision cleared, I saw yet another dragonkin servant publicly carving flesh from me. They all say royal flesh is potent nourishment, capable of enhancing cultivation. The servant devoured the bloody leg meat in one gulp, his greedy eyes still locked onto me. What are you staring at, you worthless wretch? The only useful thing about you is this meat. You should be grateful I'm not vomiting from your disgusting presence. I remained silent. After all, there's no use dwelling on it. Ever since my birth, when my 10,000-year cultivation was concealed, I've been the lowest existence in the entire dragon clan, all because my so-called birth mother, actually my aunt, the dragon princess, she practically encouraged everyone to humiliate and trample upon me. At that moment, my aunt turned with a flicker of disgust in her eyes. With one swift motion, she carved another chunk of flesh from my still-healing chest. What's the big deal about taking a little meat? Stop being so stingy. Aren't you supposed to be my daughter? With that, she tossed it into the dragon horde, instantly sparking a frenzied scramble. Seeing my aunt made no move to protect me, bolder dragons lunged forward, shedding human forms. Their claws tore at my robes as they fought to lap up the blood from my wounded heart, one after another, countless and endless. This wasn't the first time. Resigned, I slowly closed my eyes, pretending not to hear my aunt's gleeful laughter. A gentle yet unusually furious voice rang out. What disgraceful dragons! How dare you cause such a scene before the crown prince's palace? The commotion had grown so loud that it drew the crown princess and her entourage. The rampaging dragons immediately scattered, leaving only my battered self collapsed on the ground. My eyes instantly fell upon Glacia, my aunt's daughter, hiding behind the crown princess. Having been pampered like the moon surrounded by stars, she had never witnessed such a horrifying scene before. Her face turning deathly pale, the aunt immediately softened her ferocious expression and rushed over. Don't be scared, Glacia. That wretched sister of yours has no manners. I'm just teaching her a lesson. Then she fretfully took her daughter's hands, examining them over and over, now lamenting the calluses, now worrying about how thin she'd become. Ignoring my profusely bleeding wound, the crown princess sighed and placed a soothing hand on my waist. A surge of spiritual energy flowed into me, instantly easing the excruciating pain. But the moment my aunt noticed, She rushed over and slapped away the crown princess' hand in fury. Sister-in-law, why waste your spiritual energy on this worthless creature? Tomorrow marks Glacia's coronation as the princess of the tides. As her mother, shouldn't you be more concerned about the preparations? With that, she produced a vial of pills refined from my heart's essence and pressed it into Glacia's hands. Glacia, your aunt truly cares for you the most, doesn't she? These spirit pills took 49 days to refine. Take 3 daily, and your cultivation progress will double. Guard them well. A flicker of delight flashed in Glacia's eyes before she cautiously glanced at the crown princess's expression. The crown princess frowned slightly and gently pushed the medicine vial back. Dear sister, Nora needs healing more urgently. There's no need to trouble yourself over Glacia. Glacia then stole a glance at me, seemingly startled anew by my disheveled appearance. As one of the dragon clan's only 2 grandchildren, Glacia had blossomed into an elegant beauty, graceful as a jade statue. Though barely of marriageable age, suitors had already worn out the palace threshold. I was born hideously deformed. Where majestic dragon horns should have grown, I bore 2 festering boils instead, with patches of scaleless, bare flesh marring my body. Legend says the Dragon King of the Eastern Sea took one look at me and wanted me dead, declaring me an ill omen. It was my aunt who fought tooth and nail to spare my life, but her protection came with a price. She shielded me only to torment me without restraint, exacting vengeance on the crown princess for stealing her brother's affection. She reveled in the crown princess's helpless anguish, watching as flesh was carved for elixirs and dragon bones snapped for amusement. Ha ha ha, like mother, like daughter, your birth mother pities you, yet she lavished every kindness on my child. You remain but a wretched slave. Spare me that look. My silencing spell ensures you'll never speak this truth. Does it gall you? Good, it should. Just watch as my daughter steals your rightful princess title, takes your father away, robs you of everything, yet heaven turns a deaf ear and earth offers no refuge. Exactly like that fox spirit did to me back then. The grotesque smile from my aunt's memory slowly superimposed onto reality, drawing a scornful chuckle from me. How could such petty magic ever hope to contain me? It was all just part of my scheme. As my thoughts gradually returned, my expression happened to catch my aunt's watchful eye. Seeing I didn't immediately decline the crown princess's kindness as usual, her face darkened instantly, and she struck me with a slap. You wretched girl! Since when did you learn to play the fool and steal your sister's elixir with such theatrics? Did Her Majesty ever tell you, your cousin Glacia is the future princess of Sea Dominion? You must humble yourself and serve her with utter devotion. The vase shattered explosively at my feet, fragments scattering like shrapnel. A vicious palm strike sent me reeling. My knees crashed onto the razor-sharp shards, blood instantly soaking through my robes. Seeing me writhe in pain, Auntie unconsciously straightened her posture and enunciated each word. Pick them up and apologize to Princess Glacia, or you'll regret it. I lowered my head, swallowing the humiliation. Gathering the scattered pills with trembling hands, I crawled on my knees toward Glacia and presented them with both hands. Please show mercy, your highness, forgive your humble sister. The crown princess face once more betrayed her compassion. She knew that persisting in helping me would only provoke my aunt to torment me more viciously. My aunt was the East Sea Dragon King's long-spoiled favorite, the apple of his eye. When she once pleaded my case before the throne, she received nothing but a torrent of scathing rebukes. The Dragon King declared that a wretched creature like me only lived by his sister's grace. Defy her again, and death would be my only fate. After that, my fate took an even darker turn. After a moment's hesitation, the crown princess fell silent and gestured for Glacia to help me up. Just as Glacia moved to comply, my aunt swiftly intervened, pulling me behind her. Glacia, have you forgotten my teachings? Don't mimic the crown princess's two-faced niceties. She cast a disdainful glance at the crown princess, her voice dripping with sarcasm. You're the future princess of the Eastern Seas. Don't let filth degrade your status. Your cultivation comes first. The coronation is tomorrow. Let your aunt see how your water dragon sigils progress. Water dragon sigils mark a dragon's cultivation level. Each additional sigil represents an ascended rank of power. At such a young age, Glacia already possesses 9 dragon marks, making her the most outstanding of our generation. As the aunt rolled up Glacia's sleeve and counted the aquatic dragon tattoos, her expression suddenly darkened. She lunged at the crown princess with such ferocity it seemed she wanted to devour her alive. Crown princess, where is Glacia's 10th dragon mark? How could a century pass without the slightest sign of progress? TSK, I truly wonder how you qualify as a queen mother. Day after day, I exhaust myself gathering rare herbs and brewing elixirs, all in hopes of accelerating Glacia's cultivation with ease. How dare you waste your spiritual energy healing that worthless wench? If Glacia gets overshadowed at the coronation ceremony, I'll hold you personally responsible. The crown princess froze momentarily. Even someone as even-tempered as her couldn't suppress her rising anger. Coldly batting away her aunt's furious finger, the crown princess snapped, "The higher a dragon's cultivation rank, the more difficult progress becomes." Even the royal tutor personally summoned by the Dragon King praised Glacia's remarkable progress. "Why the unnecessary haste? Besides, your daughter is the same age as Glacia. How many scales has she manifested? Yet you refuse to let her attend even a single day of tutelage or allow us to guide her cultivation, sister. As fellow descendants of the imperial bloodline, would you truly condemn your own daughter to lifelong mediocrity, to eternal ridicule?" My aunt stood speechless, her furious gaze burning with intensified resentment toward me. Then, as if suddenly remembering something, the corners of her lips curled. "The crown princess speaks wisely. My daughter should indeed fulfill her purpose." But the deliberately drawn-out words carried unmistakable venom, a fact the crown princess clearly noticed. She gazed at me with pity, then finally relented. Gathering Glacia in her arms, she sighed softly to my aunt. "You're on your own now." The aunt glared venomously at the retreating figures, muttering, "Calling you crown princess once and you actually put on airs, you wretched bitch." Then she began murmuring incantations under her breath. As the dark glowing magic circle materialized in the air, a bottomless chasm opened before me. Peering inside, only deathly chill greeted my eyes. My aunt kicked me in with her foot. "Your birth mother's orders. If you want to be useful, obey her." The moment I was sucked into the vortex, biting cold swallowed me whole, leaving nothing but endless darkness in sight. This is the Shadowglow Chasm where even patrolling shrimps seldom venture. I crashed heavily onto the seabed, biting back any groan, yet still managed to disturb the water with faint ripples. Instantly, a bone-chilling roar came tearing through the water, hurling countless shattered rocks in its wake. The serpent-necked leviathan guarding Shadowglow Chasm has awakened. My aunt landed gracefully behind me, completely unfazed, even playfully nudging my face with her foot. The Netherglow Valley births a single luminous pearl every millennium. Whoever obtains it gains immense cultivation power. Pity it grows in the most desolate depths of the sea, guarded by primordial beasts. Truth be told, I'd never dare come alone. So tell me, how would you go about harvesting this pearl? My aunt's already cruel face twisted into something truly sinister. Sensing danger, I secretly gathered energy in my palms while keeping a wary eye on her. The next instant, I found myself completely immobilized by her paralysis spell. Then came the cold steel, a razor-sharp blade plunging into my chest before being viciously dragged downward. The metallic tang of blood instantly saturated the entire valley floor. The approaching roars of the beast grew increasingly terrifying. My aunt was using my blood to lure the monster's attention. I glared at my retreating aunt and demanded sharply, "What are you trying to do?" "Smugly hiding behind the reef," my aunt said. "You distract the serpent-necked beast while I retrieve the shadow pearl. As you well know, the coronation is tomorrow. My precious daughter's cultivation must surpass all others. Consider this your wretched life's final contribution to the future princess of the tides." The next instant, the charging serpent beast gaped its maw and sank fangs into my abdomen. Powerless to resist, I watched in horror as the colossal beast hurled me skyward before its pillar-like tail came crashing down like a falling monolith. The savage biting and trampling nearly shattered my very core. I kept burning through my cultivation to regenerate flesh, only to have the serpent-necked beast tear me apart again. Endless torment dragged me into an abyss of suffering, agony upon agony until numbness took over. Then, a blinding mystic radiance pierced through the distant chasm. The serpent-necked beast released its jaws in disbelief, rearing back with an earth-shaking roar as it finally realized someone had stolen the abyssal pearl. It abandoned me without a second thought, surging toward the chasm's depths with a thunderous wake. But it was already too late. My aunt appeared before me clutching the abyssal pearl, her initial shock at seeing me alive twisting into cruel mockery. "You shameless little cockroach, tough as nails, aren't you? Fine, I'll take you to the coronation." She gripped the gash on the back of my neck, deep enough to see bone, and began chanting a teleportation spell. I spat out a mouthful of clotted blood and broken teeth, feeling a furtive flicker of anticipation. The coronation, it's finally happening. The once-in-10 millennia coronation ceremony is the grandest ritual in the East Sea Dragon Palace. After years of vacancy, the sea-coming princess finally has a successor, drawing crowds of curious sea creatures that pack the palace inside and out. Upon the resplendent altar stood Glacia in golden robes alongside the crown prince and princess, receiving homage from their subjects. The peaceful scene was soon shattered. My aunt teleported us to the ceremony site, the lingering miasma from the Valley of Shadows still clinging to us. Wherever we went, people pinched their noses and recoiled in disgust. When they saw my mangled, flesh-stripped dragon form being dragged along, they rolled their eyes with even greater revulsion. Just as the Dragon King of the Eastern Sea, oblivious to the commotion below, was about to announce the Sea Guardian Princess's inauguration, my aunt dropped to her knees with a thud, raising the shadow pearl high in her hands. "Father, You're mistaken, everything is wrong. Days ago when I passed by the Imperial Hospital, I overheard the old physician's slip of the tongue. They switched our babies at birth. I refused to believe it at first, but after performing the bloodline test at home, when Nora's blood refused to mingle with mine, then I knew. Glacia, my child, your mother was wrong. Come home, I've retrieved the shadow pearl specially to aid your cultivation. With trembling steps, she ascended the altar. Reaching to place the shadow pearl upon Glacia, the crown prince blocked their path with visible suspicion. The grand hall erupted in heated arguments. How could the crown prince and his consort possibly produce a deformed dragon? Meanwhile, the princess's husband remains a mystery. Moreover, the pearl of the East Sea represents our dragon palace's dignity. Are we to disgrace ourselves before the celestial court by elevating this unsightly, incompetent wretch? Besides, Glacia has long been the princess in all our hearts. How could we possibly accept anyone else? The crowd seethed with fury, their every word dripping with disdain for me. My tear-streaked aunt curled her lips into a smug smirk, throwing me a challenging glance. Only the crown princess remained frozen in shock, her face growing paler by the second, lips barely moving as she murmured, "My child, what kind of life have you been living all these years?" Then she let out a piercing wail and fainted. Seeing this, the crown prince's expression darkened further. He even drew his sword and pressed its tip against his aunt's chest. "Little sister, don't presume upon my usual indulgence toward you to spout nonsense here, disrupt Glacia's coronation ceremony, and harm your sister-in-law's health. You claim Glacia is your daughter. Show me the proof." The aunt froze momentarily before sneering and ordering the bloodline verification basin to assert her maternal claim. "No need." Rising painfully to my feet, I laughed at the stunned crowd. There was a mix-up at birth. Dipping a finger in her heart's blood, she conjured visions of the past. The furtive figure of the imperial physician swapping the infants materialized before the crowd. The hall fell deathly silent, while my aunt stood bewildered, her gaze at me tinged with unmistakable dread. Slowly closing my palm, I froze the spectral image at the physician's departure, then asked with cold disdain, "So what if there was a mix-up back then? Will today's Princess Junhai be me, or will you kneel and beg my forgiveness?" And, step by step I approached, and the phoenix crown at the altar's center seemed to tremble faintly in recognition of my bloodline. My aunt panicked. Never had she imagined her timid niece would dare challenge for the title of Princess Junhai. Immediately shielding the princess's phoenix crown, she raised her voice, "After disciplining you day after day, what apology do I owe you?" Perhaps noticing my blood-stained rags barely covering me, my aunt swallowed hard after speaking, yet her tone lost none of its edge. "Nora, the Junhai princess represents the dignity of the entire East Sea Dragon Palace. With your inherent shortcomings, royal blood alone won't earn you this throne today." The dragons below began arguing in a clamor. "Exactly. We'd never accept some ugly freak as our princess. Besides, she was just an egg when it happened. How could she possibly know the truth? This is clearly some sorcery to trick us and seize the throne, right? Why would the royal physician swap babies without reason?" The word struck the crown prince like lightning, and he slapped his aunt across the face. "Sister, you've grown too accustomed to lawless behavior. When you conceived a bastard child out of wedlock and father sought to banish you, it was the crown princess and I who begged for your mercy, and now, you dare bring your bastard spawn to sabotage my daughter's coronation ceremony. Guards, seize them at once. They shall face severe punishment for this treason." Just as the guards were about to close in, I leapt into the air, snatched the sword from the crown prince's hand, and swung it straight at Glacia. Glacia's eyes widened in shock as she stared at me, then dropped in disbelief to her waist, only to watch in horror as her torso began sliding off her legs inch by inch. After a stunned moment, she let out a piercing scream, realizing what had happened. Glacia flailed desperately at the air. "Save me, father," but it was too late. She collapsed lifeless to the ground. The crowd erupted in horror. That monster bisected our Seacom princess. The crown prince and his aunt simultaneously threw themselves onto Glacia's severed body, wailing in grief. Enraged royal relatives began hurling spell after spell at me the moment they regained their senses. Every strike was aimed to kill, each blow meant to finish me off. Soon, they uncovered a horrifying truth. Bloodied and battered, my flesh kept regenerating, healing the wounds as fast as they appeared. A pale golden shield began forming around me, deflecting more and more attacks back at them. Gradually, fewer dared to attack me. Sensing danger, the crowd began retreating until they cowered behind the crown prince and my aunt. Watching this farcical scene unfold, I curled my lips in a mocking smirk. So this is the mighty dragon clan, the so-called greatest undersea race. After all these years, their cowardly, self-preserving nature remains unchanged. Lost in her grief, my aunt finally noticed my relentless advance, oblivious to the reverse tides. "The foolish woman still sought to oppose me, you filthy bitch. I always knew you resented Glacia, and now you finally had the guts to act on it, didn't you? Give me back my daughter's life. I tilted my head slightly, dodging her attack, and retorted with amusement, why wouldn't I hate Glacia? If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have endured a century of living hell. You should be asking yourself why you treated Glacia so well in the first place. The furious crowd fell silent for a moment. After all, everyone had witnessed both my miserable plight and my aunt's blatant favoritism toward Glacia. My aunt's eyes darted nervously as she avoided the crowd's accusatory stares. Even if Glacia weren't my daughter, as the future princess of Sea Dominion and a member of the royal family, treating her well is simply my sacred duty. As for you, a mongrel that resembles nothing, had you been born to commoners, you'd have been fish food long ago. You should be groveling with gratitude that I raised you to become something. I couldn't be bothered to engage with her. With a slight lift of my hand, the frozen projection in midair resumed playing. The imperial physician stealthily carried me out of the crown prince's palace while I was still in my beast egg form, then went straight to my aunt to claim his reward. When this scene was revealed, the crown prince immediately struck my aunt with his palm, severing one of her arms clean off. My aunt stood frozen in shock, her remaining hand helplessly clutching the gushing wound. As if unable to comprehend why her own brother would deal such a brutal blow, she whispered, "Brother, you actually hurt me." Every word drips with anguish. The crown prince's face betrayed his pity, just as it was 10,000 years ago. How revolting. Accounting must be done step by step. Aunt, why on earth did you swap the children? The venomous hatred in her aunt's eyes was almost palpable. Shut up. You're just a bastard born from that fox-spirited stray who seduced my brother. How dare you call me aunt? If I hadn't been kind enough to take in your shameless mother, would you dare stand here and disrespect me like this? I blinked slowly, utterly bewildered by the absurdity of it all. Whatever grudge you hold against the crown princess, take it up with her. What does this have to do with me? I'm just a child. As the last word left my lips, my aunt threw her head back and laughed uproariously, as if she'd heard the most ridiculous joke. Just a child, you're the spitting image of that vixen, born trash, playing the victim with your tail between your legs to climb up. I'll skin your tendons, scrape your bones, and carve the blood from your heart. If you'd just beg for mercy, I might soften and let you go. Yet here you are, acting all stoic under torture, not a single whimper. And what happens? The moment you face the crown princess or Glacia, you turn timid and meek, as if I've been torturing you to death, fishing for sympathy, favors, scheming to make my daughter share her treasures with you. That bitch stole my brother, and now her brat wants to steal my daughter's royal title. Like mother, like daughter, truly a matching pair. Haha, you actually think you've succeeded in your revenge. Look at you, ugly, useless, with no cultivation left. Did you really believe killing Glacia would make you the ocean sovereign princess? Dream on. The aunt cackled madly, infuriating the crown prince so much that he struck her again, this time shattering her ribcage with a single blow. The crown prince turned away in anguish. Sister, you've utterly disappointed me. From this moment, you are stripped of your royal dragon lineage. Go wander the realms and reflect on your actions. The aunt wiped the blood from her lips with disdain, pointing at the unconscious crown princess nearby. The one who needs reflection is your precious crown princess. You actually believe this vixen has been faithful? Let me tell you, trash will always be trash. Ask her yourself. If she'd been loyal to you, how could she have whelped such a bastard? With that, my aunt lifted the transformation spell she'd cast upon me. As the magic dissipated, my already fearsome appearance underwent another startling metamorphosis. The draconic claws and tail faded away, replaced by slender fish fins and a delicate tail. My previously bare skin began growing new scales, not the golden plates characteristic of dragons, but small, slate-gray fish scales. The hideous pustule finally revealed its true form, the head tumor of a carp. The crowd gasped in horror at the grotesque fusion of dragon and fish before them. Only the aunt lifted her head triumphantly, cackling like a wicked crone. Now do you see? Our graceful and virtuous crown princess has been bedding a carp demon all along. Had I not taken in this wretched bastard back then, where would the dragon clan's dignity be today? The crown princess awoke at this moment, immediately panicking. She didn't even spare a thought for Glacia's death. Frantically prostrating at the crown prince's feet, she pleaded, "My lord, I've always been utterly devoted to you. Never would I commit such treachery." The crown prince struck her pressure point with an icy chop of his hand, snarling, "To the dungeons, I'll settle this with you later." The aunt watched with glee as the guard weakly dragged the crown princess by one foot, bursting into malicious laughter. "So the tables have turned at last." Before she could finish, a blade flashed, her head tumbled to the ground mid-sentence. Me again. The crown prince watched his beloved sister's head roll to the ground. His eyes instantly burning crimson with rage. "You wretched demon, your continued existence till now is mere luck, and now you dare slaughter both my sister and daughter. I'll disgrace my title as crown prince if I don't execute you where you stand this very day." As he reached for his sword, his body suddenly levitated as if an invisible hand had seized his throat. The once arrogant crown prince was now gasping in panic, his legs flailing uselessly. His face turned purple as he struggled to force out fragmented words through clenched teeth. "Your power is this formidable. Just what manner of deity are you?" The guards who were about to surround me recoiled in terror. Their crown prince's life is in my hands. None dare make a reckless move. Casting fearful glances at the silent dragon king of the Eastern Sea, the royal relatives below the altar grew louder in their clamor, each voice more strident than the last. "You filthy half-breed! How dare you persist in your madness and abduct our crown prince? Our momentary lapse let you get away with murder. Don't think you can escape our grasp. Know your place and surrender, you bastard." Meanwhile, the phoenix crown resting on the altar seemed to respond to some unseen call. Under the bewildered gazes of the crowd, it descended gracefully onto my head. "Impossible, this is our dragon clan's sacred relic." Though the Sea Guardian Princess is chosen by the Dragon King of the Eastern Sea once every century, the crown of Oceanic Dominion has always only acknowledged those of dragon blood, which means the crowd finally snapped out of their daze. Of course, since the crown accepted me, I must have dragon lineage. Meeting the aged Dragon King's gaze, I smiled. "Dragon King of the Eastern Sea, do you truly not remember who I am?" The Dragon King slowly closed his eyes and let out a heavy, turbid sigh. His silence spoke volumes in reply. "I concealed my 10,000-year cultivation and masked all traces of my aura. Had my aunt not dragged me to the Shadow Vale today, forcing me to reveal my magic in that fight with the serpent-necked beast, the Dragon King of the Eastern Sea wouldn't have recognized my true identity so soon. Nor would he have stood by silently as I slaughtered 2 royal family members in succession without daring to utter a word." I laughed recklessly. "I've come for vengeance." Dragon King of the Eastern Sea, the younger dragon immediately bristled. "Vengeance for what? Our dragonkind has always acted with honor. The entire Eastern Sea depends on us. How dare you slander us here? Dragon King, teach this insolent mongrel a lesson he'll never forget." The East Sea Dragon King remained silent for a long moment before speaking, his voice trembling with barely contained terror. "How did you accomplish this? You were reduced to ashes, to ashes." I mouthed these words slowly, feeling the long-faded memories of agony crystallize in my mind with painful clarity. The agonized screams and desperate pleas of my kin still echo in my ears. In the blink of an eye, mountains of eyeless corpses choked the once tranquil Dragon Gate River, their blood saturating the banks. Soaring midair, I gazed down upon the endless sea of dragon clansmen below. With a mere flick of my finger through the void, my voice thundered across the ocean depths. "I may not be a dragon, I am the former carp princess. Today I shall recount the unspeakable sins your Dragon Sea clan committed a century ago. Carp and dragons were distant kin since ancient times. My royal parents, weary of the dragon palace's intrigues yet unable to refuse heaven and earth's persuasion, relocated to this stream with a single dragon gate to establish our lineage. For millennia, any carp wishing to return to the dragon palace could leap through the gate to become dragons. Yet none chose to return, and thus our ties with your branch gradually faded. The Dragon Gate fell into disuse, leaving only the legend of the Dragon Gate River. Having forgotten the ties that bind us, you began looking down on our carp kin, harassing and imprisoning my people at will. My royal parents chose not to pursue the matter, yet your little princess, my own aunt." I closed my eyes slightly as anguish surged through my chest, somehow obtained the recipe for bright-eye pills and threw tantrums demanding them, knowing full well it required the eyes of 100,000 carp. At this point, hatred burned fiercely in my chest. Staring at my aunt's decapitated corpse below, I still felt it wasn't vengeance enough. I summoned multiple thunderbolts that struck her body repeatedly until it turned charred and putrid. I glared furiously at every dragon present. On that mid-autumn night a century ago, while my parents took me into seclusion for prayers, your precious princess led 10,000 soldiers to massacre my entire clan at Dragon Gate River, all just to satisfy her craving for our eyes. When my royal father sought justice from your supposedly righteous Dragon King of the Eastern Sea, do you know what that bastard said? "They're just fish." Then he cursed my father, reverting him to his true form, and turned him into fish soup. At these words, a single tear rolled down the Eastern Sea Dragon King's face. This masterful performance of grief from the very monster who'd attacked my father and indulged his wicked daughter, his theatrics only stoked the inferno of rage blazing in my chest. I closed in step by step. "Old fool, when you preemptively slaughtered my family of 3 out of fear that my father would petition the celestial court, You never imagined they'd stake everything, burning their cultivation and life force, to preserve my dying soul, nor did you foresee I'd cling to life like a guttering candle for 1,000 years, only to possess the womb of your crown princess and steal the dragon granddaughter meant to be yours. With 10 millennia of cultivation, I could have ascended as a true dragon, yet I chose this half-fish, half-dragon abomination. So every glance at me would fill you with uncontrollable dread and doubt. So that's why you tried to kill me at birth, and turned a blind eye to my aunt's abuse all these years. I glared at him, and the Dragon King of the East Sea guiltily averted his eyes. For a century, an entire century, I concealed my 10,000-year cultivation, endured every torment from that murderous end of mine, groveling and begging for mercy with a forced smile, all to wait for this day, to avenge my royal parents and our entire clan, roaring these words. I teleported behind the captive crown prince, my fish-like fins transformed into razor-sharp claws as I gouged out his eyes with brutal force, crushed them instantly. As he screamed in agony, I mercilessly ripped out his windpipe, sending fountains of blood gushing forth. Thus fell the Dragon Kingdom's rising, enlightened ruler, the same crown prince who'd personally beheaded my queen mother to protect his criminal aunt, in the most undignified manner imaginable. I lay crumpled on the ground like a squashed worm, drenched in sticky bodily fluids. I flashed a savage grin at the panicked dragons fleeing beneath me. None of you shall escape today. Suddenly, my surroundings lit up with countless golden runes. In an instant, I recognized these vile sigils, the very same cursed symbols the East Sea Dragon King had used to annihilate my family. The Dragon King's silence was merely a facade. Gone was his benevolent demeanor, now his wrinkled face radiated pure murderous intent. Enough of you carps calling me brother, know your damn place. My daughter merely craved a pastry, yet you'd stir chaos and tattle to the celestial court. Now you've killed my sons, daughters, and even my granddaughter. You've gone too far. The waters around the Dragon King of the East Sea churned violently as glowing runes spiraled faster and tighter around me, weaving a net meant to bind me. The moment I'm fully restrained will be my last. The dragon horde below erupted in thunderous cheers, with my usual tormentors channeling their power to strengthen the ceiling array's magic. I thought it was something serious, just a few dead fish, that's all. Seriously, what's this grudge about? You stole our real princess's body, and now you've murdered our crown prince. What the hell are you even ranting about? Dragon Gate River. What a godforsaken place, after we finish you off. We're blowing that damn river to smithereens. The accusations grew louder and more furious, while my cultivation energy kept leaking out like handfuls of golden sand scattering through water. Seeing this display, they grew even more smug, grabbing whatever magical tools were at hand and hurling them at me. Blood streamed down my battered face, yet I made no move to dodge. My gaze returned to the Dragon King of the East Sea, just as cold and arrogant as years past. A ruler who masqueraded as a just enforcer while rotting to the core, a worthless incompetent. How naive to think I'd fall for the same trick twice. The runic array finally adhered to my skin, instantly searing foul-smelling marks upon contact as if determined to devour my very soul. As though numb to pain, I flicked my fingers through the empty air. The luminous pearl my aunt had clutched in her dying moments answered my call, rising slowly to emit an ethereal glow. The greedy dragonet leaped to snatch it, but was a heartbeat too late. Left staring helplessly as it landed in my palm, I toyed with it, chuckling as I said, Dragon King of the Eastern Sea, even now you remain obstinate, utterly failing to discipline your own daughter. Fine, suppose our carp clan is easy prey. What of the ancient beasts? The hall fell silent for a heartbeat. Only the aged dragon, sharp as ever, grasped my meaning and bellowed, oh no, the shadow pearl. She's trying to lure the serpentine beast here, run, but it was too late. The once serene azure sky split open with a monstrous rift. A furious roar echoed as demonic claws tore through the void, revealing the blood-stained serpent beast howling at the heavens. Its crimson eyes locked onto the shadow pearl glowing in my hands, and I tossed it right into the greedy little dragon's outstretched claws, but now he didn't want it anymore. Treating it like a hot potato, he shrieked and flung it away. Starting a frantic game of keep away, the Shadowglow Pearl, revered by dragonkind as a cultivation treasure, vanished into the darkness, its final resting place unknown. Witnessing this spectacle, the serpent-necked beast's bloodlust ignited. With jaws agape like a crimson chasm, it charged into the seething mass of dragons. In an instant, corpses littered the battlefield. Countless dragonkin who once held themselves in lofty regard became mere prey for the beasts. While the spoiled young masters who'd tormented me for years found their spells utterly useless against overwhelming power, I watched the carnage below with cold detachment, feeling the millennia-old weight on my heart gradually dissolve. Father, mother, at last, your vengeance is complete. From the corner of my eye, I caught a furtive figure muttering incantations, attempting to slip away, with a cold snort. I flicked my wrist. The runes that had bound half my body flew like shackles through the air, clamping down mercilessly on the Dragon King of the Eastern Sea. You actually broke free from the soul siphon curse. The moment the runes ensnared him, the Dragon King staggered and collapsed. Agony that devoured flesh and soul consumed him instantly as he watched in horror while the remaining runes burrowed into his body, studying the Dragon King's living torment before me. A cruel desire to prolong his suffering took hold. With a wave of my hand, I conjured an iron cauldron and blasted him inside. You old fool, did you really think sitting on the Dragon King's throne would make you an actual dragon? Father, mother, even I possess greater cultivation and mightier magic than you. The Dragon King of the East Sea suddenly realized the truth and thrashed violently, screaming, No, I am a dragon. I am the Dragon King. The cauldron's waters boiled furiously as the soul-siphoning curse reduced the Eastern Sea Dragon King to a barely living skeletal wreck, stripped of all draconic majesty. The next instant, he could no longer maintain his dragon form. With a resentful shriek, he transformed into a pitch-black earthworm. After the primordial war of the 9 realms, the last true dragon perished in battle, leaving none of pure draconic bloodline in this world. My father, having achieved glorious military feats, could have ascended to become the Dragon King of the East Sea, revered by all. He had no interest in wealth or glory, leading our clansmen who sought seclusion to depart. The moment he left, that treacherous earthworm spirit, once a wartime guard taken in by my father, schemed to murder my uncle mid-dragon transformation, stealing his golden core to masquerade as a dragon. Allowing my aunt to slaughter our clan was just their ploy to destroy the evidence. As the Dragon King of the East Sea lost his power, his so-called dragons reverted to writhing earthworms, their pitiful shrieks cut short when merciless serpent-necked beasts crushed them like mud. After what felt like an eternity, the water in the pot had completely evaporated, leaving only a layer of charred black residue. The serpent-necked beast slew the last earthworm, snatched the luminous pearl from the corner, and strode away triumphantly. The once magnificent palace now lay in ruins, bearing no resemblance to its former glory. After lingering in silence for a long while, I transformed once more, reverting to a small carp, ready to return to the Dragon Gate River. A voice called out to me, Nora. It was the Crown Princess. In 100 years, she was the only one who genuinely cared for me and wished to help. A newly hatched flood dragon reborn between heaven and earth, moved by compassion. I cast a protective spell on her to shield her from calamity. With determined eyes, she spoke and transformed into her true form, swimming beside me. Nora, if you don't mind, let me make it up to you. I hesitated for a moment but didn't refuse. After all, a single fish in Dragon Gate River is truly lonely. Story 2. The day before the apocalypse, my best friend was reborn. She betrayed me, had an affair with my boyfriend, and tried to take control of the resources. But what she didn't know was that in the previous life, the person who had the resources and the space was me. Sitting in the university cafeteria, watching the bustling food service counter, I could hardly believe it. Had I been reborn? Just a moment ago, I was with my team searching for equipment in a hospital with a danger level of S. When a mutated zombie attacked me, I was about to be killed by the zombie, but in a blink of an eye, I was back at the university. I stared blankly, took a deep breath, and calmed the exhilaration in my heart. I was just about to take out my phone to check the date. Suddenly, a commotion broke out in the cafeteria. A boy suddenly pounced on a girl next to him, biting off a chunk of flesh from her throat, and almost instantly, her white dress was stained red with glaring blood. I stood up abruptly, using all my strength. I screamed, "Run, it's a zombie!" Almost at the same time, the boy who had turned into a zombie lifted his head, his face completely drained of color, turned ghastly pale and grim, his mouth full of sharp teeth covered in sticky blood. The crowd exploded in panic. Students nearby the incident began to scatter in all directions, while those unaware of what was happening also desperately ran outside amidst shouts of "someone has turned into a zombie." While some reacted quickly, there were still those who were slow or unaware, and they continued to be tackled and bitten. Those who were bitten and killed turned into zombies within seconds and attacked others. In no time, about 20 people in the cafeteria had turned into zombies. The not-so-spacious cafeteria entrance was now blocked by hundreds of people. Seeing that the students on the outer edge were in danger, I quickly moved the tables, shouting as I did, "Block the zombies with the tables, don't let them get close." Several boys immediately started stacking the tables high together. This successfully stopped the zombies from advancing. Once outside the cafeteria, the crowd dispersed towards the nearest dormitories. I ran nonstop back to dormitory 501 and locked the door. My roommate Rachel was unaware of what had happened outside. Hearing the noise downstairs, she asked, "What's all the noise about?" Seeing Rachel again, my eyes momentarily filled with tears. This girl had died for me. In the 5th year of the apocalypse, I pushed aside my emotions and told Rachel, "A biohazard has broken out. There are zombies everywhere outside. Rachel shrank back. Don't joke, I'm really scared of this kind of thing. I shook my head and took her to the balcony to look outside, below our dormitory. It was chaos, pools of blood were everywhere, limbs and body parts scattered around, and zombified students were attacking those who couldn't escape, biting off chunks of flesh. The bitten people convulsed for a few seconds before turning into monsters themselves. Screams erupted intermittently from the girls' dormitory. Rachel's legs trembled violently. I supported her. Don't be afraid, we are safe for now. Rachel shakily sat back on her bed, trying to call her family, but the phone didn't connect. After a while, with a tearful voice, she asked, "What about Truda and Pandora? They haven't come back yet. In the previous life, both of them had met grim fates." I advised Rachel, "We can't worry about them right now. Our priority is to survive." Rachel snapped back to reality, hurriedly changed into light clothes, and started packing essential supplies. I closed my eyes pretending to rest, but in reality, I was verifying something. Indeed, just like in my previous life, the mustard seed space in my mind has appeared again. It's as big as 4 or 5 soccer fields. Whenever I touch something, I can instantly transfer real objects into this space. Even more fortunate, the supplies I had stockpiled in my previous life are still there. With these, I feel more confident about surviving. Suddenly, a scramble of footsteps and cries for help came from the hallway. Then, the sound of keys jostling in a door lock followed. "Quick, open the door, let us in." It was Truda's voice. The door was locked from the inside. She couldn't enter. Rachel moved to open the door, but I stopped her. Looking through the peephole, I clearly saw Truda standing at the door with 2 unfamiliar men. Dark blood was oozing from a wound on Truda's arm. She had been bitten and would soon turn into a zombie. I solemnly shook my head at Rachel, gesturing for her to notice Truda's arm. Rachel covered her mouth and whispered, "Is she infected?" I silently nodded. In my previous life, after Truda turned into a zombie, we managed to push her out of the dorm in time. But the danger did not end there. The men Truda brought were not good people. They were thugs she met outside of school. During the 3 days we were together, they depleted our already scarce food supply and even harbored monstrous intentions towards us. Eventually, Rachel and I escaped the dorm, narrowly surviving. This time, I would never let them in again. Seeing that no one was opening the door, the 2 men began to kick it. The thin door panel couldn't withstand their kicks. I quickly figured out a way to deal with them. Mimicking the howl of a zombie roar, as I howled, I pounded on the door. Sure enough, the noise outside abruptly stopped. Then, hurried footsteps faded away as the group likely ran off. Rachel covered her face and started crying. I knew how devastating it was to watch a classmate turn into a monster, but after living through the apocalypse for 10 years, I had witnessed such scenes too many times, and my heart had turned cold and hard. I was contemplating how to escape when suddenly I heard the door of dormitory 502 next door open. A girl came out, shouting, "Truda, why are you running? And who are these boys? Are they here for a room check?" My heart skipped a beat. Through the peephole, I saw Audrey from my department standing at the door of 502, waving in the corridor. Then, Truda and the 2 men who had initially run off came running back. I hurriedly shouted through the door gap, "Get back to your dorm. Don't get close to Truda, she's been bitten by a zombie." But it was too late. The 2 men ran into room 502 first. Just as Truda was about to step through the door, she heard my voice and paused. The next second, she was furiously enraged. "Eunice, you bitch, are you pretending to be a zombie so you won't let me into the dorm?" I deliberately slowed my speech, drawing Truda's attention. "You've been bitten. You'll soon turn into a zombie. I'm just doing this to protect myself." Truda's face turned pale. If Audrey was smart enough, this moment would have been enough for her to escape, but she paid no attention to the wound on Truda's arm. Instead, she frowned and said, "What zombie? It's not Halloween. Are you guys playing cosplay?" She was completely unaware of what had happened downstairs. Through the peephole, I saw abnormal veins burst forth on Truda's face. She was about to turn into a zombie. I yelled, "Watch your back!" Audrey rolled her eyes and said, "Stop playing." Holding Truda's hand, I was about to enter the dormitory. What greeted her was a sudden bang. The door to room 502 slammed shut violently. Audrey was startled and quickly went to knock on the door. "What are you doing? Open up." Behind her, Truda was undergoing a terrifying transformation. Her zombification was rapid. Just seconds ago her complexion was purplish, and seconds later, her body seemed to accelerate in decay, oozing a foul, thick saliva from her mouth. She sniffed the air a few times. Quickly locking onto Audrey, Audrey finally realized something was wrong. She turned around in horror, coming face to face with the zombified Truda. The scream was still stuck in her throat. The next second, Truda grabbed her neck and bit down hard. With a rip, blood sprayed. From the peephole, Rachel saw the scene outside and collapsed to the ground, covering her mouth tightly to prevent herself from screaming. I gritted my teeth, forcing myself to calm down. Just then, My phone rang abruptly. A glance at the screen showed the caller. Noah, is it him? I answered the call. Hello. On the other end, Noah's voice was surprisingly cheerful. Eunice, where are you? In the dorm, outside. There are monsters eating people. The dorm isn't safe. Hurry to the school entrance. I have a car, and you can come with me to the safe zone. Listening to Noah, a strange feeling surged in my heart. Noah is my boyfriend. In the last life, he, like me, was stuck in the dorm for 3 days until hunger forced him out, and that's how we met by chance and were rescued by the passing army to the northwest safe area. This life, how could he be outside the school, and how would he know where the safe zone is? Suddenly, a woman's scream came through the phone. Noah, zombies are closing in. We can't wait any longer. The voice was soft and familiar. Pandora. I quickly made up my mind and said into the phone, wait for me 5 minutes. I grabbed Rachel, took the prepared supplies, and quietly opened the door to check. Fortunately, the zombies in the hallway were distracted by the broadcast from the other side of the dorm building, greatly facilitating our escape. Just as we opened the door to room 502 across the way also opened. What a coincidence. The moment our eyes met those of the two opposite us, I clearly saw the glaring malice in their eyes. Clearly, they were still holding a grudge about the earlier incident. Be careful, I whispered to Rachel. She subtly nodded. Without making a sound, we all rushed silently downstairs. There were more zombies outside the dorm building than inside. Just as we reached the ground floor, about a dozen zombies staggered towards us. Run, I shouted. Rachel and I sprinted, quickly spotting the black SUV parked by the roadside. However, just as we were only 10 meters from the school gate, dozens of zombies suddenly surged around the corner. Instinctively reaching for Rachel's hand, I grasped at air, whipping my head around. I was met with a sight that enraged me. A man from room 502 was grabbing Rachel's backpack, violently throwing her to the ground. Rachel, I lunged toward her. Behind us, a wave of zombies surged forward. A ghastly purple hand reached for Rachel's ankle, its black nails sharp and pointed. I drew my dagger and swiftly severed the hand, quickly pulling Rachel to her feet and sprinting forward with her in tow. Ahead, 2 figures were about to escape the school. I pulled out a dart from my bag and with a flick of my wrist, struck their calves. Their screams echoed as they fell to the ground. Rachel and I dashed through the school gates at breakneck speed. Behind us, layers of zombies flooded toward the fallen men, quickly overwhelming them. Noah, who had been waiting, hurriedly opened the car door and Rachel and I jumped in. The door slammed shut and the RV shot forward like an arrow released from its bow. I calmed my racing heart and took a deep breath, then began to carefully observe the others in the vehicle. Besides Rachel and me, there were 3 men and 1 woman. One was my boyfriend Noah, and another was my roommate Pandora. The other 2 were familiar faces. They were Pandora's backup options, Benjamin and Amber. I glanced around the RV. It was well stocked with food, medical supplies, and other necessities. The strangeness of the situation deepened. I nonchalantly asked, Noah, where did this car come from? Before Noah could answer, Benjamin, backup number 1, glanced at me with a self-satisfied look and said, Pandora rented it. You really should thank her for your rescue. Thank her. In the recent call, Pandora was urging Noah to leave quickly. Clearly, she had no intention of saving me and Rachel. I pressed further. Then how did you know where the safe zone was? Benjamin obviously disliked my tone. In his eyes, I should be grateful to Pandora. He frowned and turned away. Noah took over the conversation. Pandora's cousin works in the military. He shared the information with her. He glanced outside at the horrific zombies, his expression grave. At first, I didn't believe it, didn't think zombies could be real. Pandora has a cousin in the military. I hadn't heard that in my previous life. Moreover, the apocalypse had struck suddenly, with no forewarning. Noah then gestured to the supplies in the car. Pandora stocked up on these early this morning. Stocking up early, she must have been sure the apocalypse was coming. I just responded with an "oh," then asked, how did you and Pandora meet up? Noah paused, his expression uneasy. Pandora sneaked a glance at him and said, we just bumped into each other this morning. I remained non-committal. I took a closer look at Noah and noticed 2 strawberry marks on his neck. Pandora was wearing a high-collared sportswear, zipped up to the top, but I could just make out some red marks below her neck. What had transpired between them was clear. In my previous life, they did have interactions, but that was half a year into the apocalypse. By then, I had already established my own team at the base, officially. My boyfriend Noah was the team leader, but in reality, he was just a figurehead. The core members of the squad were all recruited by me and followed my commands exclusively. On one unexpected occasion, I unexpectedly discovered that my roommate, Pandora, was still alive. She had become a woman in the red light district of the base. Out of old friendship, I arranged for her to receive supplies regularly, but it wasn't long before she got involved with Noah. I remember the day I caught them together. Pandora calmly dressed herself and casually told me, Eunice, Noah has normal physical needs. You're always busy fighting zombies. How could you satisfy him? I just wanted to help you. I asked Noah what he thought. He simply said, I can't be expected to be with just one woman. I considerately let them be and quickly took the core members of my team and left the original squad. Months later, Noah, now shabby and decadent, knelt at my feet, begging for mercy. I just smiled and told him, I never targeted you specifically. If you've ended up like this, it's because you're worthless. Why did these two come together so soon in this life? Thinking of Pandora's proactive hoarding, I had a suspicion. Perhaps Pandora was also reborn. I laughed. If that was the case, then in her past life, Pandora must have died during Noah's prime, unaware of his later downfall, which is why she rushed to his side so eagerly in this life. In my previous life, I didn't take them seriously. And in this life, they are even less significant to me, however. I am curious to see the expression on Pandora's face when she realizes she backed the wrong horse. As we drove, we occasionally saw pedestrians being dragged and devoured by zombies, and frequent car accidents along the roadside. Approaching 6 p.m., as the sun set, the sky gradually darkened. The howling of the wind carried the eerie screams of zombies, sending chills down one's spine. We reached a small gas station on the outskirts of the city before nightfall, Noah said. It's not safe to drive at night. Let's spend the night here. Everyone agreed. Pandora suggested, we need someone to keep watch. After thinking it over, Noah said, Benjamin has been driving all day. He needs to rest. I'll take the night shift tonight. And you handle the driving in the morning. Okay, agreed. No problem. After a long day of travel, everyone quickly ate dinner and went to sleep. Late at night, the wind howled fiercely, but the zombies' screams strangely disappeared, and the gas station was very quiet. I woke up from a restless sleep, feeling uneasy. I quietly cracked open a window, and suddenly, a strong gust of wind swept through, bringing a pungent stench with it. My heart tightened. This strong odor, not dispersing even in the fierce wind, couldn't possibly come from just one or two zombies. The zombie horde was coming. I quickly stood up and woke up the others. Get up, the zombie horde is coming. We need to leave now. Noah, seeing my actions, frowned. Eunice, are you sure you're not just having a nightmare? It's quiet outside. There's no zombie horde. Pandora, irritated at being woken up, rubbed her eyes. What are you doing? We all need to sleep. Seeing his idol upset, Benjamin gave me a harsh look. Hey, at a time like this, can you stop causing trouble for others? Okay. I quickly opened the window and said sternly, smell that outside. Even such a strong wind can't disperse the stench, which means there must be hundreds, if not thousands, of zombies headed this way. Hearing this, everyone's faces turned pale. Leaning out the window to sniff again confirmed our fears. Let's move. Noah was the first to snap back to reality. Immediately started the car from the driver's seat. The roaring sound of the engine was particularly jarring in the quiet night, and almost at the same time, the frenzied, bloodthirsty howls of zombies could be heard not far away. The noise was deafening, like a tidal wave, repeatedly jarring our already taut nerves. Move, move, Pandora urged, her face ashen. It wasn't until half an hour later that we finally managed to shake off the chilling fear. Rachel, still frightened, patted her chest saying, that was terrifying. If we had been any later, we would have been zombie snacks. Shivered and added, thank goodness Eunice was quick to react, or we wouldn't even know how we died. Noah smiled at me and said, Eunice, we owe you big time. Even Benjamin, who hadn't been too fond of me before, nodded in agreement and sincerely added, thank you. Pandora, feeling left out, had a sour expression. She turned over, pulled up her blanket, and muttered, I'm dead tired. Let's just sleep. The rest of us exchanged puzzled glances but didn't say much else. The next day, the situation outside had worsened significantly, with nearly twice as many zombies as the day before. The good news was that we encountered an army convoy headed to a safe base, which undoubtedly increased our safety. The bad news came around 4 in the afternoon when our convoy got stuck on a bridge, trapped behind hundreds of meters of traffic jam. Damn, Benjamin cursed loudly. How long do we have to wait before we can move? Everyone in the car was restless. Rachel shared some information she had gathered. There's not only zombies up ahead but also a car accident blocking the road. The army needs to clear the zombies first and then the road. It might take a while before we can proceed, since convoys tend to attract zombies. Getting surrounded would spell disaster. Therefore, the military opted not to use firearms to avoid drawing even more zombies, relying instead on melee weapons, which made clearing them slower. Suddenly, a frantic honking started from the back of the line. Honk. Almost simultaneously, several more vehicles began honking. The sound of honk, honk, honk filled the air. Drivers began to panic. Who the hell is so brainless, honking at this time? Do they want to attract zombies? Idiots, stop honking. My heart sank. Honking was known to attract zombies. A basic survival knowledge. A single car honking could be a mistake or an emergency inside the vehicle, but several cars honking together, that indicated something serious. Something had definitely gone wrong at the back. I ran out of the RV and looked towards the end of the convoy, where I saw people climbing on top of their vehicles, screaming in terror. Through the howling wind, the fragmented cries reached us. The zombie horde is coming. The zombie horde was coming, and the road ahead was still not clear. We couldn't stay with the convoy. I quickly climbed onto a nearby car and stood on its roof to look back. The horde of zombies stretched as far as the eye could see. They were only a few hundred meters from the convoy. The military immediately arranged for firepower support in the rear, and the relentless rattling of machine guns filled the air when we were caught in a pincer attack. There was no longer any concern about attracting more zombies, but the real problem was that we were on a bridge. The army couldn't use powerful explosives for fear of destroying the bridge, which would spell doom for everyone. Moreover, the effectiveness of the machine guns, which were limited in number, against the zombies was minimal. After the firepower attack, not only did the number of zombies not decrease, but it actually increased. The loud noises and the scent of blood drew an unending stream of zombies onto the bridge. Ahead of the convoy, although there were fewer zombies, the road was completely blocked by overturned and skewed vehicles, making it impassable for the convoy. Humanity was trapped in the middle, with no way forward or back. Rachel's face had turned pale with fear. Eunice, what do we do now? I had a helicopter in my space, which could whisk Rachel and me away, but what about the people trapped on the road? They were certain to die. As the zombie horde drew closer, I quickly devised a plan in my mind. I had an idea. I dashed towards the direction of the military, shouting as I ran, block the zombies with the vehicles, then blow up the bridge railings. Almost as soon as I finished speaking, a soldier who looked like an officer responded immediately. Good idea. His voice sounded familiar, and when I looked up, it was Oliver. He was Alan's nephew, the man in charge at the Northwest base, and the next in line to lead. Understanding my intent, Oliver quickly directed a group of soldiers into action. Dozens of vehicles were commandeered by about a dozen soldiers, lined up tightly to block the road completely. The vehicles were arranged bumper to bumper to prevent the zombies from breaking through. At the same time, the demolition experts quickly prepared their explosives. With a loud bang, a section of the railing was blown apart. By the time we finished, the zombie horde was upon us. The dense crowd of zombies pushed forward and, as expected, began falling off the bridge through the broken railings. Seeing this, I breathed a long sigh of relief. We were saved. The zombie onslaught lasted for half an hour, and it wasn't until the last few zombies were headshot by the military that it finally ended. Those who had narrowly escaped death cheered with tears streaming down their faces. Some knelt and cowed out on the ground, while others embraced and wept together. When I returned to the RV, I noticed that everyone's gaze was particularly intense. Well, everyone except Pandora. Rachel was so excited she was nearly bursting. She hugged me tightly. Eunice, you were incredible. You saved everyone. You saved so many people. Amber, with sparkling eyes, asked me, Eunice, how did you come up with that idea? I pondered for a few seconds and replied, probably watched too many apocalypse-themed movies. Just applied what I've seen. Benjamin came over, smacking his forehead. I like those too. How did I not think of that? Rachel pushed Benjamin playfully, laughing. You're not as smart as Eunice. Actually, the idea wasn't that complex, and with Oliver's capabilities, he would have thought of it eventually. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to make it back to the base alive in his previous life. I just happened to speak up first. Pandora, who had been sulking since getting in the car, finally crossed her arms impatiently and said, Can you keep it down? The chatter is killing me. The others in the vehicle paused momentarily. The cheerful atmosphere suddenly dissipated. Benjamin asked worriedly, Pandora, what's wrong? Are you feeling unwell? Pandora was visibly upset but couldn't verbalize her true feelings. The thoughts of a girl are often easy to guess. It was just jealousy. Rachel sneered. What's wrong? Just feeling bad inside because she can't stand seeing others happy. Pandora snapped. You'd better remember whose car you're in. You eat my food, use my things. What right do you have to be sarcastic with me? Noah's expression hardened, and he stood up to say, I asked Eunice and Rachel to come along in the car. If you have any complaints, blame me, not them. Pandora panicked and quickly explained, Noah, I didn't mean to blame you. I laughed. Oh, Noah, calling him so affectionately, I said, tell us what happened between you two on the last night before the apocalypse. Pandora's face turned pale instantly. Clearly, being exposed in front of two backups about her sordid affair was embarrassing for her. However, she soon made a choice. Biting her lip, her eyes brimming with tears, she said, So you knew all along? Yes, that night I was already with Noah. A flicker of panic crossed Noah's face as he instinctively avoided my gaze. Pandora lowered her eyes, concealing the smugness in them, eagerly anticipating my reaction. Oh, I said emotionlessly, turning to Noah and stating bluntly, "Then you're dumped." Both Noah and Pandora were stunned, their faces a picture of disbelief. Pandora stuttered, you, unable to figure out what to say next. She was ready to put on a performance, but I gave her no chance to act, leaving her feeling like she had punched into cotton. Unable to vent her frustration, Noah looked at me with guilt in his eyes. "I'm sorry, Eunice, that day I quickly gestured for him to stop. Cheating is cheating, no excuses. Rachel, let's go." I called to Rachel, who was already livid, and we quickly got out of the car. "Eunice, wait for me." Rachel hurried after me, spitting behind her and cursing, "Scumbag and slut." Behind us, Pandora and Noah's faces were a sight, while Benjamin and Amber looked as if they had swallowed something disgusting, shocked and nauseated. I headed straight for Oliver's military vehicle. Along the way, Rachel tried to comfort me in various ways. "Bitches with dogs are forever, jerks with chicks stick together." That made me burst out laughing. The poor girl thought I was heartbroken and looked at me with even more sympathy. When we reached Oliver's vehicle, the armed soldier recognized me, smiled, and asked, "Hey, it's you, what's up?" "I have a way to quickly clear the vehicles up ahead. Please take me to your leader," I said. The soldier, momentarily surprised and cautious, frisked us briefly before swiftly taking us to Oliver. Seeing me, Oliver straightened up and extended his right hand. "I haven't thanked you yet for saving everyone." I shook his hand with a smile. "I can help even more." After speaking, I pointed at a water cup nearby. Instantly, the cup vanished. Oliver was startled. With a flick of my finger, the cup reappeared on the table. I smiled slightly. "As you can see, I have the ability to teleport objects." Oliver's breathing quickened, his eyes filled with disbelief and a sense of treasuring a valuable find. I chose to be honest with Oliver because in my past life I had dealt with him and knew his character. Oliver possessed the authority and capability of a leader and, more importantly, he was steadfast and fair, truly a leader who could bring welfare to the people. Soldiers set up canvas curtains to block the view from the rear vehicles. I collected the wrecked cars into my space and threw them off the bridge. In just a few minutes, I had cleared the road. Seeing my abilities again, Oliver looked at me with even greater eagerness. I smiled at him. "If you ever need my help in the future, just let me know." Oliver looked at me intently and said, "All right." He wasn't shy to ask for help right away. There was something he needed help with. Transporting medical equipment. The military was divided into two groups. One returning to the safety base as originally planned and the other heading to Hospital A to search for equipment, and Hospital A was precisely where I had died in my previous life. I instructed the soldiers to take good care of Rachel, and then they drove directly to City A with the troops. The operation went very smoothly, the junior zombies were not difficult to deal with, and we quickly located the equipment, thanks to my spatial abilities. Those valuable and delicate devices were easily transported out. The soldiers were excited, looking at me as if I were a walking treasure. After transporting the necessary medical equipment back to the base, everyone from the top brass to the frontline researchers was elated. The head of the zombie virus rehabilitation research team claimed that with the machines, there was hope to develop a cure within 5 years. The base quickly arranged a prime villa for me and deployed dozens of soldiers to guard me day and night. The situation inside the base was still unstable, and the knowledge of my space was strictly kept secret, with those in the know under orders to maintain confidentiality. Rachel also moved into the villa with me. As for Pandora and Noah, I didn't have time to pay attention to them. During this time, Oliver and I were busy collecting various equipment and supplies. More than a month had flown by in a blink. When I re-entered the base, I heard something new. A woman claimed to have been guided by God and could foresee the future. She predicted a small-scale zombie siege in 3 days. After a heavy rain, the temperature would suddenly rise to 45 degrees Celsius. The team sent to City B to search for supplies would encounter a wave of zombies. Everything she predicted came true. In these apocalyptic times, people were already anxious and fearful. Hearing of her deeds, they virtually revered her as a divine incarnation. Even Alan, the leader of the base, met with her. This woman was Pandora. Oliver and I returned to the base, weary and dusty. Upon arriving at Alan's office, we saw Pandora sitting on the sofa. The moment she saw me, she seemed incredulous, but soon after, she chuckled. "Eunice, long time no see. Who is this with you?" Alan chimed in. "Oh, let me introduce him. This is my nephew, Oliver." Pandora's pupils dilated slightly. Having been in the base, she had naturally heard of Oliver's renown. A flash of jealousy crossed her eyes. Clearly misunderstanding my relationship with Oliver, she scoffed. "I see Eunice is still so likable. In just a few days, you found someone new." Before I could respond, a fierce look flashed in Oliver's eyes as he snapped, "Watch it." Pandora was startled. Alan's expression also changed, but he managed to keep his composure, only darkly ordering the guards, "Please escort Miss Ding out." Pandora was completely baffled, unable to comprehend why Alan, who had been quite courteous just moments ago, had suddenly turned hostile. After being thrown out of the office, she stubbornly shouted at the door, "Hey, I can foresee the future, you'll regret sending me away." Oliver looked questioningly at Alan. Alan scoffed and shook his head. Prophecies, she just happened to guess a few things right by chance. Pandora's so-called prophecies were merely memories from her past life. Memories can be flawed, and things can change. The benefits of her rebirth were not as great as she imagined. An hour later, after Oliver and I had reported the outcomes of our trip, to my surprise, Pandora was still waiting for me. As I emerged, she ran up to me and asked, "What is your relationship with Oliver?" I raised an eyebrow. "What's it to you?" Her expression complex. Pandora bit her lip and said, "Could you please introduce me to Oliver? I have the ability to predict the future, and keeping me would be useful. My requests are simple, a place to live and a daily supply of necessities." I turned and walked away. "I'm busy." Pandora stared at me, her gaze intense, her face filled with shock. Gnashing her teeth, she said, "I'll make you regret this." I scoffed. "Well, I'll be waiting." The next day, Pandora prophesied to her followers that the woman by Oliver's side would bring disaster upon him. Oliver commanded great respect at the base, and many were concerned about his affairs. However, before the prophecy could spread, a man strode into the temporary room where Pandora was staying. He looked fearsome and grabbed her by the collar, slapping her twice sharply. Blood trickled from the corner of Pandora's mouth, leaving her stunned and frightened. She asked, What are you doing?" The man dragged her outside, his eyes bloodshot as he addressed the onlookers. 3 days ago, I gave her a bag of supplies in exchange for a prophecy. She told me there would be no large-scale zombie horde in City C, so my brothers and I decided to go there for supplies. But as soon as we arrived, we were surrounded by a zombie horde. I barely escaped with my life, but all my brothers died. After speaking, he slapped Pandora again. "This woman is a fraud who makes her living by deceiving people. I'm going to kill her today to avenge my brothers." He then pulled out a knife. Pandora's eyes filled with terror. No, put the knife down." The security team arrived just in time, restraining the furious man. After understanding the whole story, the security team sympathized with the man's ordeal and did not pursue charges against him for his violent act. However, they showed contempt and disdain for Pandora, who disregarded human lives and deceived people by pretending to be a seer. The news quickly spread throughout the base. Was the so-called divine woman just a fraud? At first, some people didn't believe it, but as time passed, Pandora's predictions became increasingly inaccurate. The enraged public, feeling deceived, dragged her into the street and beat her. If not for the strict discipline of the base, which did not allow provocations and disturbances, she would have been killed. 3 days later, Pandora came to my villa, requesting an audience to share some important information. When the soldier reported to me, I was enjoying a tomato beef brisket hot pot with Rachel. I was in a good mood and decided to let her in. Seeing her again, I hardly recognized her. Her body was bruised and battered, nowhere near the pre-apocalyptic campus goddess she once was. As soon as she entered, she looked around the luxurious villa with eyes filled with greed. Then her gaze fell on the hot pot and Rachel's in my hands, and she unconsciously licked her lips. I asked, "What do you want?" Pandora spoke solemnly. "I know a secret that could be very useful to the base, I can tell you, but you must provide me with shelter and supplies." I glanced at her and said, "That depends on how much your so-called secret is worth. Don't worry, I'm fair. If the information you provide is valuable, I won't let you down." Pandora stared intently into my eyes, trying to gauge the truth in my words. After a moment, she said, "Within 6 months, Noah will awaken a space that can take anything from reality into it." Rachel and I exchanged glances, speechless, thinking we didn't believe her. Pandora quickly added, "I'm telling the truth." I asked, "Where did you get this information?" Pandora replied, "I told you I have the ability to prophesy. This is what I predicted. Noah will become the captain of the base's first squad, and his squad will have a continuous supply of materials. I saw with my own eyes how an empty warehouse was filled overnight. If that's not spatial transfer, what is?" Pandora was detail-oriented, but she completely misunderstood the situation. I smiled, placing my hand on a nearby chair. "Are you talking about this space?" With that, the chair vanished. Pandora fell to the ground, her face filled with astonishment, full of disbelief. She exclaimed, "You have a space too?" I walked over to her, smiling, and said, "The one with the space isn't Noah, it's me." Pandora stared at me in terror as if she had seen a ghost, murmuring to herself, "How can this be? How?" The space is yours, not Noah's, I confirmed. That's right. After a moment, she broke down, alternating between crying and laughing madly as she tore at her hair, then ran out of the villa. Rachel watched in shock. She's lost her mind, hasn't she? Then she reminded me, Eunice, that scumbag Noah has been to the villa several times trying to reconcile with you. I had someone chase him away. Don't let him fool you. I heard he's been mooching off Pandora ever since he got to the base. Men who cheat and sponge off women are the worst. I gave her a reassuring look. Do I look that foolish? Rachel nodded in satisfaction. Then she gossiped. So, how are things going with Oliver? I quickly finished the hot pot in my hand, placed the bowl on the ground, and said, Oliver and I are strictly professional partners. Then I stood up and said, I have to go now. Leaving so soon? Rachel called out from behind. Eunice, I think Oliver is interested in you. Give him a chance. I have been busy with space imaging lately. Space imaging, as the name suggests, involves projecting images from my space for everyone at the base to see. In my previous life, this technology was on the verge of completion. In this life, I asked Oliver to help find the researchers and handed them the results to further their studies. This allowed the technology to be quickly developed. 3 days later, my space was officially revealed. The resources within were displayed to all the survivors in image form. The entire base was abuzz. In these apocalyptic times, lack of clothing is the least of worries. The deterioration of spirit is far more severe. During these hardest days for humanity, this space undoubtedly became a beacon of hope. With this space, the pace of infrastructure building could be accelerated significantly, allowing large machinery, building materials, and even houses to be quickly placed where needed. There is no passage of time within the space, so perishable food and items can be preserved to the maximum extent, completely preventing resource waste. The inspiring and uplifting value of this space far exceeds its storage function. It is a symbol of an era. That day, as usual, I headed to the newly established safe zone. Pandora suddenly burst out from around the corner. Immediately, a soldier caught her, and several guns were pointed at her in an instant. I waved my hand, signaling the soldiers to release her. I had someone investigate Noah and Pandora's situation before. Noah tried several times to see me, but each time, the soldiers beat him up, and eventually, he didn't dare to come again. To make a living, he had to join a third-rate squad. His weak nature meant he wasn't cut out to be a key player, barely managing to survive. Pandora, just like in her previous life, had become a member of the red light district. I asked her indifferently, "What do you want?" Pandora, looking deranged, glared at me and said fiercely, "Eunice, you actually revealed the secret of the space. Do you know this is a divine item that many people desperately seek?" She muttered to herself, "If it were mine, if it were given to me, I would make everyone kneel at my feet." I scoffed. "What good would it do to give it to you? Even if it were yours, you would have been dead since the day you left school. With your capabilities, could you have kept this space safe?" Pandora suddenly faltered. "Indeed, what difference would it make if it were hers?" She paused, stunned. With a bitter laugh, madness was already taking its toll. She said, "Eunice, do you know, I have been reborn. I am the darling of the heavens. Why should you live so well, while I, reborn, live a life even worse than my last? Something must have gone wrong." The soldier guarding her glanced disdainfully, clearly regarding her as insane. I watched her steadily until she calmed down completely. I said, "In life, one must strive to overturn fate and live as one's true self. Heaven granted you a second chance at life, if you remain trapped in the mindset of a reborn, ultimately treading the same old path as before. How is that different from being a puppet of fate?" Having said that, I walked away, paying no further attention to Pandora behind me. 3 years later, the Northwestern Security Base had become the largest base in China, a safe zone spanning thousands of miles, capable of accommodating 300,000 residents, with numerous strong allies and dependents. The crumbling social order was being rebuilt. I looked beyond the base towards the distant lands. To this day, our brethren still suffer from hunger and cold, their homes reduced to barren wastelands. The journey is far from over. Being reborn into this vast world, there is much to be achieved.